from the Eastern Congo. Daba Tsotetse reports.
The arrival of these soldiers was delayed by several weeks due to logistical challenges. However, the first group of 249 arrived on Friday from Tanzania, as it has been used as an assembly point. 257 soldiers landed back in the country from a SADC peacekeeping mission in the DRC. It is an emotional arrival for these soldiers following constant delays.
Aid relief group in South Africa, Gift of the Givers, says it is inundated with people reporting their loved ones missing in Umtata in the Eastern Cape province of South Africa. This after heavy rains caused severe floods in the area. The death toll now stands at 88, with more than 1,000 people displaced. The organization says its combined search operations with the police and provincial EMS teams led to the recovery of 2 bodies yesterday. Gift of the Givers project manager Ali Sable explains.
An appeal from Gift of the Givers is to all family members who are missing people to please report it to the nearest police station, to your councillor, to your community, as Gift of the Givers teams and the department won't know what we are searching for. Our operation will continue for the next few days as more missing persons are reported.
South Africa's Deputy President Paul Mashatile is expected to deliver a keynote address at the National Youth Day event in Potchefstroom in the Northwest Province. The event will be held under the theme Skills for the Changing World, Empowering Youth for Meaningful Economic Participation. The country is marking the 49th anniversary of the 1976 Soweto Uprising. Tabang Morutlua explains.
The challenges faced by the youth are expected to take center stage. They include unemployment and substance abuse. Mashatile will be accompanied by the Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture, Gayton McKenzie, Minister in the Presidency responsible for women, youth and persons with disabilities, Sindisiwe Chikunga, and the Premier of the Northwest, Lazarus Mukhosi.
After days of uncertainty and negotiations, the funeral arrangements for Zambia's former president have been finalized. Edgar Lungu, who led Zambia from 2015 to 2021, died earlier this month at a hospital in Pretoria. The BBC's Camilla Mills reports.
According to his family, Edgar Lungu left instructions that the current president, Hakainde Hichilema, should not come anywhere near his body. But in a statement, Lungu's party, the Patriotic Front, confirmed that an agreement had been reached between the state and the family. PF said Lungu's body will lie in state at his residence from Thursday, and President Hichilema will preside over the funeral proceedings. The burial is scheduled for Monday, June 23rd. The announcement is likely to bring some closure to supporters and citizens across the country who have been waiting for clarity.
As the incidents of gender-based violence continue to spiral in many countries across the SADC region, a theatre organisation in South Africa's KwaZulu-Natal province has taken it upon itself to confront the scourge head-on. The Wushwini Pan-African Centre for Arts, Culture and Heritage has embarked on a journey to take its own man show played by Tifupaya to the rest of the African continent, but starting in the region first. Visionary arts mentor and the organization's administrator, Jerry Bowe, explains.
I'm here to try and share the GBV issues because our plan is to go all over Africa to hear men, but more than anything to make them to start talking. We started in Artscape, and from Artscape we went to Malawi, and then we're going back to Gaborone, and then from there we go to Namibia, then go back to South Africa, and then take a pause. Next year we're also going to take other 3 countries until we are able to reach all parts of our continent.
Recapping on your top story, South Africa's Defence Minister Angie Motshekga says they expect all the SANDF soldiers deployed to the DRC to be back home by the end of the month. She was speaking at the Waterkloof Air Force Base in Pretoria, where she welcomed the second group of the SANDF members from the DRC. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Tsinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
It is 6 minutes past the hour, 9 a.m. on a youth day. It is a Monday. What better way to start the week than with the youth? Cultivating your youth. Whether you are young at heart, too young to understand why we're celebrating the day. Either way, happy Youth Day to you. And you're wondering, why am I celebrating Youth Day? We're going to get into why today is such an important day in South Africa. But also, I want to educate you on how Youth Day links to the likes of Angola, Tanzania, and a little bit of Mozambique. We're going to get into that. You're probably like, this voice, it's not the voice that we're used to. It seems like all the women at Channel Africa have baritones. My name is Nsako Mhlanga, and I'm going to be holding it down for the On The Move team. Probably one of my favorite times in a day, 9 to 12. I'm going to tell you why. Everyone is sitting at their laptops, so chances are you're about to receive the best news of your life. The life-changing email. Maybe, you just took your pregnancy test, for example, and you just found out now, because they say it usually happens round about in the morning. It's usually the best time. Someone has just accepted your funding. Someone has just allowed you to access the opportunity that you have just because of this time, because of the focus that happens in this time. It's absolutely amazing. I love this time, and I'm so excited to be with you today. We are going to be getting into some interesting conversations about the contributions to either the struggle that we had that took place in 1976, June 16, 1976. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of some of the contributions that the media also had back then, right? Without it, we wouldn't even be here today. Then we're going to talk about a very interesting program with young people and how we're using the power of film and mentorship to really structure dialogues around the boy child. The boy child is probably the most neglected child in our society, and we're here to fix that. It's so important for us to have different programs and dialogues to kind of help the boy child, kind of navigate this life thing. We know that yesterday we celebrated Father's Day across the world, but a lot of people were quite triggered by the day because, maybe they're not as acquainted with their fathers. They don't have good relationships with them. Some of them don't even know them, which is an unfortunate reality. So once we have programs that prioritize the boy child, it is a very, very exciting, challenge to have, especially for them. And of course, later on, we're going to get into some nutritious talks. I went on the scale yesterday and I was quite embarrassed to see what I saw. I saw some weight picking up there and I said, we need to reverse. We need to get back into our diets. I've been eating all willy-nilly, so I'm completely accountable for that scale and what appeared on that scale. But now it's time to actually take action. And we're going to be unpacking some of that. And of course, I do not ride alone. I think this entire show does not happen or exist without amazing people. We've got Onele Nzinzi on news. We have got Buntle Headbush on econ, on sports. We've got Musibudi Makura. And of course, we have the amazing pilots, Selena. I'm just a co-pilot. I'm just the voice of the work that is done behind the scenes. And thank you so much for the amazing team, a woman-led team. Very, very exciting today. Nice girl power in the office. On WhatsApp, +27634069126. Happy Youth Day to those who commemorated Angola. This is also for you, hey? And I'm going to tell you why, because I don't think you actually understand the relationship between Angola, Tanzania, and South Africa. And you guys, what you did for South Africans. So shout out to you. It is 10 minutes past 9 a.m. My name is Nsako Mhlanga. This is On The Move.
Get set and be ready to go. On the Move with Palisa Tawo and Benjamin Mushatama.
Annie Kalonji sur Channel Africa.
Nous allons danser au son de Haya que je dédicace à vous tous, chers auditeurs, qui êtes en train de suivre cette émission Mix Vibration. N'oubliez pas, vous pouvez nous suivre à partir de l'application SABC+. Vous choisissez Channel Africa pour suivre l'émission en direct. Nous allons danser au son de
Annie Kalonji. Tous les dimanches sur Mix Vibration.
The rhythm of Africa. The pulse of the continent. This is Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Welcome back to it. It is 11 minutes past 9 a.m. on this beautiful Monday morning. And the one thing that I remember in high school that used to be emphasized a lot was the role of the camera, right? You always had those people that always wanted to just capture moments. And it was such a beautiful thing. But there's one person in particular who captured a moment that changed the trajectory of a struggle globally, even in the Western side, right? And I'm going to get into the nitty gritty, right? But today, the Dr. Sam Nzima Foundation continues his legacy using photography to educate, uplift, and empower young people across South Africa. And also, I just want to add 2 more countries, Angola and Tanzania, and I'll explain why, right? And Dr. Sam Nzima, whose photograph of Hector Peterson during the 1976 Soweto uprising not only shook the world, but became a timeless symbol of the youth struggle, injustice, and resilience in South Africa. And we are joined by the chairperson of the Sam Nzima Foundation, Thulani Nzima. Thulani, happy Youth Day, technically happy birthday to the Sam Nzima Foundation.
Sako, good morning and happy birthday to you as a youth and happy birthday to all of us as a country. I can see you're brimming with a smile of a youth. The energy is there and it's a good day. And it is called Youth Day for a reason.
Yeah.
It's because we honor and recognize the contribution of the youth of 1976.
I mean, if as the youth I'm not cultivating the energy of a young person, I don't know what I'm doing here. I might as well just switch off the mic and go home, honestly.
Yeah, you're doing the right thing, actually. There are different places that are more exciting than where you are now. So you could have been anywhere else, Unibusa somewhere, Holy Munati Kaika, but you decided you want to give this day the decorum and respect it deserves. So kudos for you.
Thank you so much. And honestly, for me, I'm just happy that Nzima is running the Sam Nzima Foundation. A lot of the time, legacies, you kind of find them sifting through the generations, right? You guys understand the assignment. You know what your father did, and you know the legacy that he left behind. So talk to us about that. Today, it could be a bittersweet day for families like yourselves, families like the Petersons, families like the Makubus, and alike, right? What does this particular day mean, especially for that photograph, remembering how monumental it was to the world?
Well, first, let me say, being a Daki and the firstborn in the family, I have no choice but to lead my dad's legacy. And that's an African thing. A lot is expected of me as Sam Nzima's firstborn son. And for all of us, the Makubus and the Petersons family, we remember this day with a mixed feeling. In the first instance, when you look back to the tragedy that happened on June 16, it's a very painful moment. And the loss of our father, Sam Nzima, was equally a very painful moment. But the joy and comfort we have is in the fact that all of them didn't die in vain. They died for us to enjoy the democracy that we're enjoying today. They have actually left an indelible mark in the history of this country. There are still a lot of question marks that are raised about what happened to Mbuyisa Makubu. I think as a country, we owe it to ourselves to find proper answers and closure on what happened to Mbuyisa Makubu. We also want to honor the family of Hector Peterson at a young age, who probably didn't even know what was happening at the time. It was just like any other little child who would take on to the sister or the brother when you're going to the shops or going to something that seemed exciting to him. He died an innocent child. But like many others, the martyrs that have watered the spirit of freedom that we're enjoying today. So we those are the kind of mixed feelings that we have. Remember when my dad took the picture, the first few years was full of regret because he was harassed thoroughly by the police. He became the state enemy, not number one, but he became a state enemy. And for that harassment that followed, he regretted having taken the picture. It was only later that he made peace with it and said, I was just doing my job. And then as time went on, seeing the impact of this picture across the globe, you have actually articulated some of the impacts of this picture. If it was not for this picture, the trajectory of our struggle would probably have been flatter, longer, for a longer period of time. You mentioned countries like Angola, Tanzania, and Zambia. Those countries were actually put in that situation when they looked at the agony and brutality of what the apartheid system was capable of. It is for that reason that the anti-apartheid movement was formed in London, picketing on a daily basis for the release of Mandela and the release of all prisoners as well as unbanning of political organizations. So this impact, this picture had a massive impact in where we are now.
So interestingly, I just want to provide some context for our listeners and why we mention Angola and Tanzania, right? So when the picture was released on the newspapers, because it happened just, please correct me if I'm wrong, if it's not the same day, it's just a day after, but it was quite an explosive media storm that happened when the picture was released, right? And was published. And there were some youths that were part of this struggle that now had to exile into Angola and Tanzania. So Angola and Tanzania opened up their borders to teenagers, mind you. I think maybe let's also put numbers to it. Teenagers that had started the march and had gathered together, to kind of bring the march together. And they went into Angola and Tanzania. And that's why it's so monumental, because that picture opened up the borders, right? And I think I wanted to kind of draw a comparison between that and the role of media in everything that we do, right? We've seen a rise in digital media and how the youth are cultivating digital media to bring about change in society for whatever reason, i.e. GBV, femicide, the likes. What is the role of photography, the role of digital media and media in general in communicating messages that are happening on the ground? I feel like sometimes it gets lost in translation through, through sensationalism, for example, and propaganda.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. Firstly, let me correct you as you offered to be corrected. The picture was actually published in the afternoon edition of the World newspaper on the same day, June 16. A debate which was in the editor's room was whether to use this picture or not. It went online. Well, it was not online, but it was published in the afternoon. It hit the frontline pages. And the following day, it had then reached the international networks through Time magazine. That's when it hit Russia and other places such as Tanzania, Uganda, and Angola, all other countries. So that's how instantly the picture was circulated, and Reuters at the time picked it up, and it went globally as quickly as possible. That's how the brutality of apartheid was exposed to the international community. The impact of a picture, the expression that says, a picture tells 1,000 words. Just that one picture alone, you didn't have to say anything, but show this picture and it tells the story. It told the story then, it continues to tell the story today. You look at this picture, you will still be touched. 49 years later, this picture is still as impactful as it was at the time. So in terms of bringing it closer to where we are now and saying, what is the impact and the influence of the media in spaces like this, taking images. The difference between that time and now is the fact that today you're using your phones. You take a picture and it's instantly distributed across the world. At that time, my dad, you had to take a picture, go and process it in the dark room, and there will be a debate as to whether to use this picture or not to use it. Today, you actually need no permission from anybody. You take a picture and send it. That is very important to do this, because that's how instant gratification and communication of messages happens. And also today, with your digital cameras, you don't run out of films. During the days of my father, you would run out of a film and have to reload it. You would lose certain opportunities at that time.
Mr. Nzima, let's take a short break. When we come back, the conversation continues. It is at 9:21 Central African Time. We'll be right back.
zochitika ndi madaphiri kamlondola wa zochitika pena paliponse.
nduna wa zamalonda ku Malawi waletsa kampani yopanga shuga ya Irovo yomwe ndi nthambi ya Irovo Sugar Group Limited kuti isiye kutumiza shuga ku maiko akunja. Malingana ndi nduna ya zamalonda Vitumbuko Mhumba, izi zithandiza kuti shuga yemwe yakusowa pa msika azipezeka. Ndiye pano ndili ndi George Muhangu amene ali mu mzinda wa Blantyre mu dziko la Malawi. Chimene chikupangitsa kuti shuga azisowa ndi chani?
Chomwe chikupangitsa kuti shuga azisowa ndichonena kuti panopo ili ngati off season ya makampani a Irovo Sugar Malawi, kunena kuti sakutha kupanga shugayi okwanira chifukwa akukolola. Ndiye akamaliza kukolola pameneno atayambeno sopano kugaya shugayi kuti azipezeka. Chinanso ndichonena kuti ma distributors amene akumakagula shuga kaya ndi ku Irovo kaya ndi kusalima shuga akumagulisa ku maiko akunja ngati Zambia, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, Mozambique.
zochitika ndi madaphiri lolemba mpaka lachisanu pa nthawi ya 7 koloko kufikira 8 koloko madzulo pa Channel Africa.
Download the SABC app and take Channel Africa with you everywhere you go.
22 minutes after 9 a.m., just 8 minutes to go before we head to the news. This is On the Move. I'm standing in for the amazing team. They're probably celebrating their youth, trying to recalibrate their youth wherever they are. They must know, I got this, don't worry. And speaking of the youth, I think it's so important to kind of highlight where we are now and look at where we are now. And Mr. Thulani Nzima, who is the chairperson of the Sam Nzima Foundation, we're having a conversation with you now. And, you mentioned something. I want to just reverse the 18-wheeler truck for a moment. You said that, I could have been anywhere, either enjoying my youth, going out to drink or whatever the case is, but I'm here. And I think my concern as a youth now is the immediate association to hedonism, materialism, and our youth. No longer to activism, socialism, and general activism in our world and kind of being a global citizen. Where would you say we are as a youth right now, and what's missing? What are we not doing right?
I don't think I want to put it squarely on the shoulders of the youth alone. That you can talk about respectfully the missing middle in terms of the connection, intergenerational connection. The problem is that our government is also encouraging certain things that are not talking to the youth. Let me give you an example. Today we're celebrating Youth Day, but can you take a step back and locate what this Youth Day is all about? What is it called? What is it in fact supposed to be called, for that matter? This is the June 16 Soweto uprising. It started off as the Soweto riots. So then it moved to June 16 uprising. Now today is called the Youth Day. If people have no context of what this is all about, they will be lost. That's the reason why they have no relation to June 16 and its significance. So that is the first important thing. So, and as a nation, for as long as we keep diluting the impact and importance of these kind of historic days, we are drifting our youth away from understanding the context of our struggles. And if you look at other nations, such as the Jewish Holocaust, many years ago, it happened long before June 16, 1976, but you dare not forget that day. The Voortrekker Covenant that takes place at the Paul Kruger Monument in Pretoria is commemorated with such emotions and dignity. But what's happening with us? Why have we now changed Dingan's Day to something else? Why have we changed March 21st Sharpeville Massacre to something else? And we expect our youth to respect us and our youth to understand that this day is supposed to be commemorated, not celebrated, commemorated with emotions and dignity. And we're not saying stop your life, but we're saying at least have context as to what this day is all about. Why do we keep changing it? So that is one of the things. And then we turn around. Yes, I will have a message that says for the youth like yourself who have some kind of relationship, affinity with this day, who choose to be in a place such as where you are today and talking about youth matters. We applaud you, but there are others on the fringes who have no understanding of what this day is all about, and they would rather today be having bashes and parties and drinking and all of those kind of things, and we turn around and blame them. So it is not really the responsibility of the youth alone. It is a national crisis that we are facing, that we continue to dilute our history willingly ourselves by this very accommodative manner. We are very apologetic as a nation, and that pains me a little bit.
Especially about culture and tradition. It's something that we need to learn. I think even as Africans, if a day is a commemoration of a treacherous day in our history, then I think it should be treated with the same respect. What are the upcoming projects, campaigns, anything we can support that are coming up for the Dr. Sam Nzima Foundation?
This is the first of in the menu of various activities and events that you can support. The exposure that you're giving us through your media platform is very important. When we commemorate the Sam Nzima events, in fact, we call them commemorative events because we have a series of activities. Yesterday, we had Golf Day in honor of Sam Nzima. The TUT Bombela campus students had a netball and soccer semi-finals. Today, they will be playing the finals and will be rewarded with a floating trophy and the medals with the Sam Nzima logo on it. And we are having the big one, the memorial lecture. Very fortunate to have Professor Pitika Ntuli, who is going to give us the keynote address on a very interesting topic. 49 years since June 16, 1976. We're asking the questions, lots to celebrate or lots of disappointment. The students of TUT also had a photography competition inspired by the photo of Sam Nzima's Hector Peterson picture. What are the current pictures that students can go and take and then tell their own stories inspired by this picture? We already have 3 top students who presented something very interesting. So these are the kind of things that we are doing, but we try and keep the calendar occupied with the commemorations of Sam Nzima. After this Golf Day and the memorial lecture, in August, we are back to Soweto to have a Golf Day. We will then go to Polokwane to have yet another Golf Day. So these are the things that we do, and we have a community outreach program embedded in the Sam Nzima Golf Days where we reach out to needy and beneficial organizations that we donate funds to pursuant to Sam Nzima's dream of developing communities.
Thulani, I'm really excited about all the projects you have, and please share them with us. We'd love to continue the conversation. And just on a personal note, Dr. Sam Nzima is low-key the reason why I'm actually here today, because my father became a journalist because of Dr. Sam Nzima, and then that kind of trickled down because I'm also a firstborn, so you always have to continue the legacy. So I'm thankful for Dr. Sam Nzima because none of this would have really happened if it wasn't for him. If my dad didn't step into the world of journalism, then heck, I probably would have gone the more corporate route.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, we thank him for grooming you and directing you to a very safe space such as where you are now. I think the youth of today is looking for role models like you, people who look like them, who are their age, who talk their language, can reach them on the social media platforms. Because at times that intergenerational gap is a result of the communication that we have or we don't have. So I can't be sent to talk to the youth. They'll look at me, hey, I'm cool. We don't understand what you're talking about, but you can. Even the kind of language that you guys use is very important, but that you connect with each other. So from our point of view as the Sam Nzima Foundation, the more people that rally around our cause, better, because it's a very isolated and cold environment. The Sam Nzima Foundation, in honoring Sam Nzima, is acutely aware of the fact that we are not entitled to the nation celebrating Sam Nzima, because there are many other heroes and heroines who have contributed to this struggle.
Thulani, I'm so sorry to cut you there. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but thank you so much for your time today, and all the best with all the projects that you have.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Fantastic. It is 9:31 Central African time. That was Thulani Nzima, the chairperson of the Sam Nzima Foundation. Let's find out what's happening in the money.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
And a very good morning from the sports desk. I am Musibudi Makura with the latest sports news at the Sawa. So Springbok women coach Frenzel September says the team displayed an impressive performance to help clinch their fourth Rugby Africa Women's Cup title. This after the Springbok women's side's dominant 61-17 win against the host nation Madagascar in the final on Sunday afternoon at Stade Marquez. Now speaking after the at the post-match interview, September says he's happy that the players were disciplined enough to stick to the game plan.
Yeah, 3 in a row. We're happy. I'm happy for the ladies. I think they did put in the hard work to get the results, 60 plus points in 2 matches. Wednesday was a bit difficult, but for today, they stick to the plan, and I'm so happy for them.
All right, September also says he's grateful that this tournament has served as a platform for youngsters to experience high-performance rugby.
Yeah, I think for us, 12 uncapped players, I'm happy for them. Like I said, there was one player that came to me after the match now just saying thank you. And I think it's all about opportunities. Early in the year, they played Provincial Rugby, and we scouted some of them there. And now they just needed to have the opportunity in the green and gold. And if you give South Africa an opportunity, that's the result that they will give you 60 plus points. So we're happy for them.
Onto this now, South Africa missed out on the COSAFA Cup title after losing 3-0 to Angola in the final on Sunday afternoon. South African coach Vela Khumalo made just one change from the semi-final win over the Comoros as Mduduzi Shabalala dropped to the bench with Violet Lapa recalled to the starting lineup. Now both semi-final encounters were played at a lively tempo, but the first half of the final was quite the opposite as both nations were feeling each other in the first opening 20 minutes. Now the Angolan side moved the ball around with a lot of ease in the closing stages of that match to run down the clock and claim the COSAFA Cup for a second year in a row and their 5th title overall. Angola having scored at the brink of the half-time break to lead 1-0 going into the second half, and 2 more goals were scored in the second half. Angola successfully defending a title that they won last year. On to athletics news now. Mando Duplantis broke the men's pole vault world record for a 12th time with a clearance of 6.28 meters at the Diamond League meeting in Stockholm, Sweden last night. Now this one was extra special for the 25-year-old, however, as it was the first time he had improved the world best in Sweden. He had already secured victory in the event when he cleared the new record height at the first attempt before removing his vest and celebrating with family and friends, and also taking the acclaim of his home crowd. He then said before the event that breaking the world record in Stockholm felt like the only thing that was missing. Duplantis first broke the world record then held by Ranud Laveni of France in February of 2020 with a 6.17 meter clearance in Poland. On a memorable evening as well for the home crowd in the Swedish capital, Andries Almgren set also a European record to win the men's 5,000 meter event. And finally, in case you missed it, so America's JJ Spaun overcame a flooded golf course, a 90-minute rain delay, as well as the brilliance of Scotland's Robert McIntyre to win the US Open on a chaotic final day at Oakmont Country Club yesterday. So the 34-year-old who needed a par on the last to win his first major title hold an incredible 64-foot birdie putt to win by 1 on 1 under par. McIntyre, watching on a television screen, applauded and simply mouthed "wow" when the putt dropped. It was also a terrific gesture at the end of an enthralling final round. The 28-year-old from Oban had gone close to breaking his own major duck at the course that is generally regarded as the toughest in the world. Well, that is a wrap from the sports desk at the Sawa. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. So it's 9:36 a.m. Central African Time. I'm back with more sports news in the next hour. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. Ahoy, matey!
Captain here to help, right, boys?
Set sail with us on a digital voyage like no other. Channel Africa has a treasure trove of awesomeness. That is our website and social media pages.
Tell me, why are you here?
We want you to be part of our adventure.
The winds are changing, Captain. And this time...
Imagine a world where curiosity knows no bounds, where entertainment meets enlightenment, and where every click leads to the African perspective. Visit us on our website, www.channelafrica.co.za, or follow us on Instagram or on X at Channel Africa 1. Go on, like us on Facebook at Channel Africa 1. So, spread the word. Tell a friend that Channel Africa's online variety is what they need on the web. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
9:37 Central African Time. Thank you so much, Musibudi Makura, for that. I actually got to watch the cricket. It was so nice. It was super, super lovely. But now it's time to, even in a public holiday, we need to know what's happening with the money. It's time for Econ with Buntle Headbush.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Good morning. In the business news this morning, the future of mining in the DRC has come under the spotlight at the recent DRC Mining Week 2025. The event was held under the theme 20 Years of Shaping Mining in the DRC, Creating a Roadmap for the Future, Vision 2025 to 2030. AECI Mining Chemicals Global Portfolio Manager Shani Albrecht emphasized that localization is essential to the long-term sustainability and profitability of the mining sector in the DRC. She says especially important in line with the AECI Mining Chemicals commitment to shared value and building strong local partnerships.
In our view, localization isn't just important, it's fundamental to long-term sustainability and profitability in the DRC. So not only at AECI Mining Chemicals, but at AECI Mining as a whole, we've seen firsthand that shared value and local partnerships build resilience. When we partner with Congolese resellers, train the local suppliers, or source within the country, we are embedding our operations into the local economy.
The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure in South Africa has called on young people to take advantage of opportunities available in the infrastructure development sector. The Minister for the Department, Dean McPherson, made the call during a career expo in Mbombela, Mpumalanga. The Minister is on a drive to establish the country as a construction hub with a key focus on stimulating economic growth and creating opportunities for the youth. McPherson says government is creating a lot of opportunities that are aimed at fighting youth unemployment through infrastructure development.
There are opportunities for skilled people, unskilled people to get involved and to find employment and to bring dignity for you and your family. And that's hugely important in South Africa. So I think that these opportunities where people can see what is available, where we're headed, where the infrastructure pipeline is geared towards, that things can get better, that they need to keep pressing forward. And we as a department also have a responsibility to assist them.
Meanwhile, South Africa's Deputy President Paul Mashatile is set to deliver the keynote address at the country's Youth Day commemorations today in Potchefstroom, Northwest. But it's business as usual for some of the youth from Ikageng Township who say they will not be attending the National Youth Day commemoration as it will not address their challenges. They complain about the surge in the unemployment rate and believe that the annual event, like this one, never yield any positive results.
For us to attend this, it's also resulting to matters not being resolved anytime soon. So whether we attend, we don't attend, get fun, I don't want to lie.
I don't think they bring any change because now we get to listen to what they promise us, but we never get the opportunities that they say they're going to give us, you understand. No, now we're dealing with more of bribery wherever we go, and some of us are unprivileged.
The United States is pushing Vietnam in tariff talks to reduce its use of Chinese tech in devices that are assembled in the country before they are exported to America. Sources close to the discussion say the U.S. demands have been seen as tough and difficult by Vietnamese negotiators. Vietnam is home to large manufacturing operations of tech firms such as Apple and Samsung, which often rely on components made in China. Meta and Google also have contractors in Vietnam that produce goods such as virtual reality headsets and smartphones. Now, taking a look at our indicators this morning, $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,541 naira 94. In Botswana, it's 13 pula 29. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 48, and in Zambia, it's at 24 kwacha 17. Moving to the BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 real 54, Russia 79 rubles 81. India, it's at 85 rupees 72, China 7 yuan 18, and South Africa $1 is trading at 17 rand 93 cents. $1 is trading at 73 pence to the British pound and 86 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $3,432 and platinum at $1,216 per ounce, while the price of Brent crude oil is at $74.75 a barrel. And those are your business news this morning. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Bontle Hetbush.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa Update on Channel Africa.
Over 35 organizations are expected to converge at the Union Buildings in Pretoria over illegal immigrants in South Africa. They say South Africa is facing a myriad of challenges and that foreign nationals are worsening the situation. Yes, Khutato, just take us through the main aims of the march, what you're hoping to get from them.
So we are basically saying to the President of the Republic of South Africa, illegal immigration is a pandemic. Implement the laws. It's not that we don't have these laws. How many people are being human trafficked? How many people are being hijacked? Our schools are full. Our hospitals are full. And it's almost as if we're carrying the burdens of the entire Africa at the expense of South Africans. And we are basically saying enough is enough. We want the President of the Republic of South Africa to meet us at the Union Building. We've submitted letters to say that we are coming on this day. We want to meet with him there to give him this mandate because clearly he has failed citizens. He's failed South Africans by failing to implement the law. That's the most important thing. We are going to give you a mandate. We, the people, shall govern.
Africa Update with Lulu Kabu on Channel Africa every weekday from 12 to 2 p.m. Get Channel Africa on DSTV or Bouquet. Channel 802.
Just about 16 minutes to go before we head to the top of the hour. And on Thursday, the 12th of June, a program named, of course, What About the Boys Foundation, which is started by the Youth Start Foundation in partnership with Prime Stars. They started a program called What About the Boys, right? Let me just rephrase that. And on Thursday, they released the State of the Boy Child 3-Year Impact Report, which is a bold and urgent reflection on the realities, challenges, and transformative potentials of South African adolescent boys. And we need to unpack this because we've seen a lot of conversations happening on social media and the impact of certain programs on the lives of young boys. And I like the fact that now it's a 3-year report. So we have quite a nice measure also encompassing the pestle aspect, the macro environment of the continent that we live in and the impact of our boys. To unpack this a little bit further, we are joined by Refilwe Mohale, who is the General Manager of the Youth Start Foundation and Executive Lead on the What About the Boys program. Refilwe, thank you for this program. It is a gift to us. You're already acting in your name. It's amazing. How are you today?
Good morning, and happy Youth Day to you and the viewers of Channel Africa.
Thank you so much for that. Happy Youth Day to you. We are young and we're also young at heart, so it applies to everyone. Let's talk about this. This 3-year impact report. It's quite a nice timeline to be able to measure, the different aspects of life. We're able to measure the financial impact of it, the social impact of it, the environmental impact of it. What is in this report?
Well, the State of the Boy Child report is a powerful. I like to make the analogy of a mirror, one that both reveals both crisis and opportunity for us to actually look at what is the state of the boy child in South Africa. And of course, there's a couple of reports that have also come out about boys internationally in Africa and worldwide. But this one specifically looks at our young boys and the impact of GBV on them, and of course how we would like to use this program, or rather how we are actually using this program as a preventative measure against gender-based violence under the National Strategic Plan, Pillar 2, which is social cohesion and prevention.
So essentially, we're giving back the onus to the potential perpetrator, meaning, when we look at the numbers, statistics say that it is the boy child that perpetrates the action of gender-based violence, right? We're looking just as the majority, just for context's sake, right? What has been identified as an ongoing trend in the past 3 years?
So what we have clearly seen throughout all the townships, all the rural areas that we've run the program in. And we've touched just about 60,000 boys, 180 high schools right across the country, right across the sectors, different economic circumstances as well. What we can clearly see is that the boy child is seemingly left behind. Thing is, a lot of work, very important work, has gone into supporting the girl child. Actually, we also started Take a Girl Child to Work Day 20 years ago, and helping females break through the glass ceiling, gain meaningful employment, and of course opportunity in the workplace as well. But the boys are the ones that are disengaged in our schools. They are the ones that are committing suicides. Just yesterday we had a horrifying news report of the 4 boys that were shot because they tried to rob an Uber driver. And these are all minors. They are the ones that are filling up our jail cells, but also looking at university and employment statistics, we see that our boys are the ones that are being left behind. And we have been a very strong advocate for the support of the boy child and the girl child equally, so that we can raise them up together for a just and equitable society. Because what we have seen is that because our boys are starting to be left behind, they are actually not ready to deal with a strong, confident, successful a young woman. So we need to make sure that through the program's pillars, that they are able to be able to communicate their emotions in healthy ways, that they can resolve conflict, without having to use their fist, in positive manner, that they can regulate their emotions, that they get support, trauma support, because a lot of our boys are struggling with trauma because we tell a young boy that he can't cry, that he has to be tough, that he has to be strong, and we trap them in these unhealthy societal norms of masculinity. And that's why now we see the boy child actually acting out the way that he does in society when he becomes the man.
And when I read the report, and I've read the brief that was sent, I kept dwelling on the what about the boys. It is a very strategic question, and also a strategic way to name the organization, because it is a question that needs to be asked, what about them? But now I want to take it a step further, because I feel that, And I think a lot of women can empathize with the ideal that a lot of the responsibility of the boy and the girl is usually on the woman, kind of banking on our nurturing nature, on our mothering and our maternal instincts. So who's responsible for the boys? I mean, we can't take on more as women. They're responsible for the girls. They're responsible for themselves, their safety, not thinking that we're going to be the next victims. So who is responsible for the boys? Who are we asking, what about the boys?
So we have, it has been said many times that South Africa is a fatherless nation. And one of the problems that were constantly also coming up out of our program from our young boys is that they don't have positive role model figures. Our boys yearn to connect with older men. They yearn to ask them about, some difficult questions that they may not always be able to ask the woman in their lives. And females have done amazing jobs by raising, our young boys. There's many good men that have been raised by single-headed mother households. But what we are advocating for in this program, is that men come back into the lives of young men. They need to be mentoring. They need to be nurturing, because that's not just the role of a woman, by the way. Men need to be nurturers as well. And to stop ceding the responsibility of guiding our young boys to the female counterparts. And that's something that we did very deliberately in the program by asking men from different organizations to come and partner with us and volunteer their time in, having intergenerational dialogues with our young boys. As soon as we ask for mentors, females would have been the first, people to put up their hands and say, we want to come and assist the boy child. But we were very deliberate in asking men to come into that space. But I want to make one point very clear. The tagline of the program is raising a nation of good men. And it takes a village to raise a boy. Of course, it takes a village to raise, which comes from takes a village to raise a child. But we might be, as Prime Stars and the Youth Start Foundation, running the What About the Boys program, working with our boys in high schools, but they go back to their schools. That's why we involve the teachers as well. But outside of their schools is then the family, the nuclear family, and then society, and at large. And every single person actually has a role to play in how we raise the boy child. Society needs to change its norms in how we put pressure on men to be real men, where we actually place the value of a man in how much money that he has in his bank account, how many women he can tick off as having encountered and had a relationship with, how many people that he can beat up in the community, him being feared. But we need to start putting an emphasis on good healthy masculine norms, such as men who take care of their families, men who are protectors, men who are allies to women and girls in the fight against gender-based violence, men who are able to stand up and advocate, for no violence against women and children. And of course, men that are not willing to stay silent in the face of injustice. Those good attributes are what needs to start coming out of a society, because every single person actually influences in the person the boy child becomes.
And let's talk about the program that you have, this film-based program. I mean, how does it work, and how is its effectiveness? Because I also am drawing the comparison between what the boys consume in media and how they're emulating behaviors that they portray in the media, the likes of violence and toxic masculinity, and the man is always a superhero and must always come save a woman, and just kind of ideals like that. How does a film-based intervention now alleviate that? How does it work with the boys?
So Prime Stars and the Youth Start Foundation has been educating young people across South Africa on different topics. This one being GBV prevention, specifically working with boys. And our key differentiator in the youth education and social impact space is by using edutainment, which is edutainment as well. And we use powerful mediums such as film, which our young people are actually very receptive to, visual and audio, of course, and we tell our stories on screen through relatable characters. Refilwe gets to see a character on screen that he's able to relate to, a character that looks like him, a character that sounds like him, has come from similar circumstances. And this character then goes through a hero's journey, and that's where we start unpacking different topics that we want to get across to the young people, whether it might be consent or harassment, bullying, drug and alcohol abuse, LGBTQI community. And we then use those movie scenes as topics of discussions in our mentorship sessions with the boys. And we also have a booklet which we call a Goodman Guide, that unpacks the lessons in the film. For instance, in the movie, you might see Tato touching Relebule inappropriately. That scene will then be illustrated in the booklet, and then the mentor gets to engage with the boys, on that specific topic. And it's not a lecture; it's really a dialogue that we have with our young boys. And we want to debunk certain myths. We want to challenge, some thinking that they have that might be wrong, but also empower them to be able to make the right decisions for themselves, because it's in that empowerment that the young boy can really start to own what he believes is right and wrong, and therefore can be an advocate for that as well. So we've got the movie, we've got the booklet, we've got mentorship sessions that are in the form of dialogues in cinemas, but in the rural schools we actually have mobile cinemas where we set up projector screens, laptops, so no one is left behind. And then we've got about a 6-month mentorship dialogue with safe spaces in schools as well. So I fundamentally believe in the power of film in being able to teach our young boys. And this program, as mentioned, has touched over 60,000 boys across the country, and we've had over 300 men that have volunteered their time to come and have these dialogues with our boys.
Absolutely brilliant stuff. Refilwe, what's the plan for the next 3 years?
So, look, seeing that this is actually, the 3-year impact report, it's a very good time for us to actually look back and use. Oh, I've got the report right in front of me, by the way.
Exactly.
I see this. My screen is blurred. But this report is going to serve as a basis and a foundation for us to be able to move on to the next 3 years and how we are looking to expand the program. But we want to localize it more to different areas in the country. We want to translate our booklet also into different languages, just because we've learned that, for instance, learners, for instance, in Alexandra, in Johannesburg, might be very au fait with the language, but a young learner in Toyando might not, understand and grasp the topics as much. And also we want to include local CBOs and organizations that work within communities to extend the impact of the program, empower them, give them content, give them our booklets as well. And we also want to expand our partner network, the people that actually fund this to make this possible. In fact, right now I am wearing a sweater. I'm not sure if you can see it, but what about the boys?
Yes.
So one of our partners, Markham, has actually made this program a business case, and they are selling What About the Boys sweaters and t-shirts to help the sustainability of the program. So every sweater and t-shirt that gets sold gets to include a boy child in the program. So we're looking for like-minded partners that are willing to join us in the fight against gender-based violence, because gender-based violence is not just a 16 days of activism thing.
Yeah.
Every single day, we need to be doing something.
Amazing stuff. Refilwe, thank
So
you
we
so
want
much
to
for
increase the reach
Yeah.
and impact. Sorry about that.
Thank you so much, Refilwe, and we'll be sure to share your guys' details on social media because we've run out of time now. We need to get into the news, but thank you for your time today and the work that you do. It is at 10 a.m. Central African time. It's time for news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Ntsako. Looking at your top stories, all the South African National Defence Force soldiers deployed to the DRC to be back home by the end of the month. And a second black box found from Thursday's plane crash in India. Your latest news. Greetings to our listeners. South Africa's Defence Minister, Angie Motshekga, says they expect all the SANDF soldiers deployed to the DRC to be back home by the end of the month. She was speaking at the Waterkloof Air Force Base in Pretoria, where she welcomed the second group of SANDF members from the DRC yesterday. This is part of the SADC peacekeeping mission's withdrawal from the Eastern Congo. The Daba Tsodetsi reports.
The arrival of these soldiers was delayed by several weeks due to logistical challenges. However, the first group of 249 arrived on Friday from Tanzania as it has been used as an assembly point. 257 soldiers landed back in the country from a SADC peacekeeping mission in the DRC. It is an emotional arrival for these soldiers following constant delays.
A call for all staff in Nigeria's Ministry of Agriculture to pray to help the country achieve food security has caused controversy. An internal memo from the head of the ministry's HR department has urged staff to attend a solemn prayer session and fast for the next 3 Mondays. Some Nigerian responses by questioning the government's commitment to the task of bringing down the high cost of food. The Agriculture Ministry downplayed the issue, saying the call for prayers was not an official policy to tackle food insecurity, but was intended to boost staff well-being. According to UN estimates, at least 4.4 million people in Nigeria do not have enough food, with the country experiencing its worst economic crisis in a generation. An incident of gender-based violence continues to spiral in many countries across the SADC region. A theatre organization in South Africa's KwaZulu-Natal province has taken it upon itself to confront the scourge head-on. The Wushini Pan-African Center for Arts, Culture and Heritage has embarked on a journey to take its one-man show played by Difupaya to the rest of the African continent by starting in the region. Visionary arts mentor and the organization's administrator, Jerry Bowe, explains.
We are here to try and share the GBV issues because our plan is to go all over Africa to heal men, but more than anything to make them to start talking. We started in Artscape. From Artscape we went to Mangaung, and then we are going back to Gaborone, and then from there we go to Namibia, then go back to South Africa, and then take a pause. Next year we're also going to take other 3 countries until we are able to reach all parts of our continent.
The South African government has asked its citizens in Iran to register with the embassy of Tehran and ensure that it knows their whereabouts. This comes as Israel and Iran continue to strike each other. The International Relations Department says in a statement that South Africa's support in Iran is limited and no face-to-face consular assistance will be possible in an emergency. It has also encouraged South Africans in Iran to assess their safety and act accordingly. Lastly, Indian investigators have found the second black box from Thursday's plane crash in the city of Ahmedabad. Funerals have been taking place for some of the victims of the crash, the BBC's Grant Ferret reports.
It's a sign of the intensity of the impact of the crash that it's taken investigators 3.5 days to find the cockpit voice recorder. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner was loaded with fuel when it smashed into a residential area less than a minute after takeoff, creating a huge fireball. With both the black box recorders now retrieved, it's hoped that the exact cause of the disaster will be identified. Some of the relatives of the 270 victims have become frustrated by the speed of the identification process.
Recapping on your top story, South Africa's Defence Minister Angie Motshekga says they expect all the SANDF soldiers deployed to the DRC to be back home by the end of the month. She was speaking at the Waterkloof Air Force Base in Pretoria, where she welcomed the second group of SANDF members from the DRC. Now, for any news stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us at +27 11 714 4459. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Ntsinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective. Wake up with Rise and Shine, 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda.
6 wonderful minutes after 10 a.m. Central African time. This is On the Move between 9 and 12 p.m. every single weekday. It's usually with Balisa Dao and Benjamin Mushatama, but they said they're going to celebrate Youth Day the best way they know how, by recalibrating their youth. And the youth must actually take over. My name is Nsako Mhlang. I'm going to be your girl until 12 p.m. And we're going to get into a debate. So excited about this. Last time I did debating, yay, it was high school. And the reason why I say the last time I did is because in varsity we were supposed to do it, and then COVID happened, and we couldn't really COVID has really stolen so many amazing things from us. But what I enjoy about the topic today, it really kind of ties in with the conversation we've been having. Is Gen Z all talk and no action? Does activism from the couch, i.e. social media, actually create change? My view doesn't matter today. We've got amazing people that are going to be walking with us and unpacking this for us in greater detail. We've got Side A, Lorato Tsenkeng, who is a communications and PR expert. We've got Side B, William Baloyi, who is a human rights activist. And they're going to be unpacking this in greater detail. We've seen all the posts, the hashtags, the campaigns, people finding people. I don't know how sometimes we're able to identify someone's tattoo. When you ask your friend, hey, please find this person on social media, they're able to do that. But is that creating actual change? Are we actually doing something about that change? Or is our fight just on the couch? Are we actually doing something about it? Are we an all talk generation? I don't want to blame us too much because, look, I think if anyone grew up with social media in our time, we would have kind of fallen into a similar trap. But are we actually doing something about what's happening right now? Are the hashtags actually actively doing something? The online petitions, the different ways we support different people, are we doing something about it? I can't wait to get into this one. And it's going to be amazing. We got 2 young, amazing voices who are going to be talking about this. And look, it's one side against the other. The nice thing is that I get to be one of my favorite countries in the world, which bring about peace. Peace. I get to be an equator between the southern and the northern hemisphere. It's amazing. Just in the middle. Listening to both views, seeing the different parts. And look, I always say a debate, you don't win a debate by being loud. You win it by backing it up with evidence. So that's why I can't wait for the evidence that's going to come out of this one. It's going to be amazing. We're talking, is Gen Z all talk and no action? Does activism come from the couch, i.e. social media, actually create change? Does it create change? Are we doing something with these hashtags? Are we actually creating change? I can't wait for this conversation. Also, let me know on social media. +2763 406 9126. That's our WhatsApp line. Let me know if you feel like we're an all talk and no change type of generation. And on social media, we are at Channel Africa 1. So let me know as well. You know, maybe you feel like, yes, we are. Maybe you feel like, no, we're not. You know, my opinion doesn't matter today. It's all about you. It's all about you. It's all about your opinions. It's all about what your views are. And back it up. I would say back it up. I like it when we have conversations and you guys are able to bring evidence to the table. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to gather all your evidence. And then we have the debate. Are you a side A, which believes that online activism creates real and meaningful change? Or side B, the fact that no, it's actually performative and rarely leads to real change. It is 10 minutes past the hour, 10 a.m. Welcome to On the Move.
Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine.
I want the Africa that makes every single African proud of the continent and have hope. And there's so much stuff that's going on that's positive. And if we can just lock into that, Namaganjani, everyone is going to get there.
Where are we going? Where are we trying to get to?
The idea of working together, which is why I'm excited about this new voice.
And the new voice is me, Asanda Peta, broadcast journalist with about 15 years of experience on the radio space.
Welcome, Asanda. I've been waiting for you for a long time.
Were you waiting for me?
I was.
Really?
Yeah, because for 3 months I was on my own.
So be sure to tune in right here on Channel Africa Mondays to Fridays from 6 to 9 a.m. Central African Time.
If you want to know about your continent, this is the best place to start your day.
Rise and Shine on Channel Africa. Your weekday afternoons have been upgraded by The Upside with me, Tebohole Kuleni, and my partner in crime, Nompumelelo Ngubeni.
And if you want to find out all things luxury, fashion, travel, and arts and culture, this is exactly the place to be.
Prepare to be delighted. If it's hip, if it's happening, we are talking about it. We talk about what's now, what's next, and most importantly, what matters most on the African continent and the diaspora.
Do you know what time it is? Catch us every weekday on Channel Africa from 1 to 4 p.m. Central African Time.
Yeah, that's us every weekday afternoon.
África. Conhece o Ntivani?
Claro que sou eu.
Ntivani é o amante da música de corpo e alma.
Eu amo música africana.
Ele aprecia todos os tipos de melodias e passa os seus dias a ouvir a Channel Africa. Adivinha só, a Channel Africa quer ajudar o Ntivani e os amantes da música em todo o lado a descobrir ainda mais música incrível. Por isso, a Channel Africa está a convocar artistas africanos a submeterem as suas músicas. Músicos, lembrem-se de nos dar todas as informações relevantes no music@channelafrica.co.za. As submissões são a vossa oportunidade de ser ouvidos, mas não garantem inclusão na lista. Todas as submissões serão cuidadosamente analisadas para verificar se cumprem os requisitos da nossa estação. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Today, we tell Africa's aspirational youth stories.
The only way we will see no more wars is when all young people can wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I can do it.
On Channel Africa, the African perspective.
We're having our debate. Is Gen Z all talk and no action? Does activism from the couch, i.e. social media, actually create change? We've got two sides. We've got side A that says, yes, online activism creates real and meaningful change. And we've got side B that says, no, it's mostly performative and rarely leads to change. Representing each side, we have side A, Lorato Tsenkeng, who is a communications and PR expert. Side B is held down by William Baloyi, human rights activist. Good morning, happy Youth Day to us.
Good morning and happy Youth Day to you too, Mpako.
Thank you so much for joining us. So side A, let's hear it. Lorato, you're saying yes, online activism creates real change and a meaningful change. And let's talk about that.
and good morning once again, Nzako, and to all the listeners across the continent and across the world. So one of the things that I guess, in 2025, we are excited about is, the internet revolution, right? And specifically that, if you consider that 20 or 30 years ago, the speed of interaction was a lot slower versus now, and thanks to social media, right? So 49 years ago today, young people organized themselves, and you can imagine how they had to make sure that there's information flow in a very safe way where it would not be intercepted by police and the likes, right? So that they could, make this day a meaningful day as we are commemorating it, right? What the biggest shift that we've seen in the now, and maybe let's take it to, the most recent, or at least, in the minds of South Africans in the main. There's a young chap who's called Scott Maphuma, brilliant young up-and-coming amapiano artist. We know amapiano is a genre that is growing across the continent and gaining acclaim across the world, even in countries such as Germany. Scott Maphuma then decided that he wants to say to his fans that, listen, if I don't want to take a picture with you, I will not take a picture with you, right? My time is my time, and people must not want to treat me as a celebrity. And a lot of his fans and the public called him out on that, to the point where in a few concerts where he performed, people literally just stood there and looked at him as he was performing, right? And he had to, write an apology to his fans to say, I apologize for having behaved this way. I recognize how you have been, the fuel, or at least the wind beneath my wings. And you can cite many, many examples where we recognize, this speed of interaction, which some people may not have heard Scott Maphuma saying what he said, but because there is now, the thing around people resonating with the call to action, people resonating with the need to mobilize, and also importantly, people resonating now with the positive effects of the change. And you can look at whether it's fees must fall, whether you even think about, the kids the many young people that gathered in Egypt during when they were protesting, and they literally were standing at the Tahrir Square for days on end, calling for a regime change. So you recognize that the social media has literally given not only young people the ability to mobilize, but importantly to make positive change in their lives and those that they care about.
All right, William, let's hear your side. Side A has spoken. Thank you so much, Lerato. William, over to you.
Thank you very much, Nzako. Thank you very much to the listeners, and good morning to them in particular, and fellow Africans that listen to the channel. It is very misleading for Mr. Olerato to say that indeed these people who text from the couch can be able to change anything. I will make few examples, and also with the issue of Scott Maphuma, you would realize that he's back into gigging. With or without the apology, it just goes to show you that there is no impact that can come from social media. It is just something that happens for 24 hours and people move on. Can the Gen Z generation be able to mobilize anything and be consistent at it? It's an absolute no. I would tell you one thing that people have seen. When we were going into the national elections, we were sure that indeed come May that day, 2024, EFF will have a position in parliament and they will go to union building. Because they were all over social media. This Gen Z generation were citing and telling us how important they are. We had to go to the polls, and when we came back, EFF was nowhere to be found. There was a political party new with people who are not on social media, but when it comes to action and mobilizing on the ground, they were able to do that, and they showed us when they messed up the entire plan of each and every political party in South Africa. The Fees Must Fall movement, if you were to take it online and say that no, it was impactful, it happened online, even to date, I have to struggle with my little sister's fees in VUT, because that thing was not impactful in any other way. Can this Gen Z generation be able to change anything at the comfort of their own couch? No, they can't, because they don't believe anything they say. They are going with the wind. They are going with the fastest hashtag. They are trying to get more views and likes because it helps them get promotions and work with these companies. But they don't care about any other thing. As I say that, and as I leave this particular issue to give maybe Mr. Olerato an opportunity to try and convince me that they can do anything worth our while, I will tell you this for free. On the ground, physically where we are, the country is being taken over by any other race and any other people from other foreign nations who are taking over South Africa while we are busy texting on our different couches and not taking action on the ground. 49 years ago, wherever they are sitting in their graves, they are tossing and turning because of this generation that speaks so much on social media because of data and free Wi-Fi, but they cannot do anything on the ground. To submit my point and what I'm taking home, these people cannot change anything. Instead, the issues that we have in the country and the status quo has worsened because of this generation that cannot do anything but gather when there is a party or a place where we must get drunk and high and create this content that they are talking about. They cannot change anything from the comfort of their own couches. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think let's put a pause on that. Let's hold our breaths. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, Lorato, I want to hear from you. It is 10:20 Central African time. This is On the Move.
Africa, meet Abedi.
Yeah, that's me.
Abedi is a music lover through and through.
I really love African music.
He's got a taste for all kinds of tunes and spends his days listening to Channel Africa. Guess what? He didn't know.
Okay.
Channel Africa wants to help Abedi and all music lovers everywhere to discover even more incredible music. That is why Channel Africa is calling on all African musicians to submit their music. Musicians, remember to give us all your relevant information. Make your submissions at music@channelafrica.co.za. Submissions are your chance to be heard on radio. But sadly, they do not guarantee that you'll be playlisted. All submissions will be carefully reviewed to see if they meet our station's requirement. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Call us on +27 63 406 9126. And contribute to the conversation.
8 minutes to go before we head to our sports with Musiburi Makura and our econ, which will happen with Buntle Headbush in just a bit. But for now, we're having a conversation, a debate rather. We are talking about Gen Z. Are we all talk or no action? Does activism from the couch actually create change? Side A is saying yes, online activism creates real meaningful change. Side B is saying absolutely not. It is mostly performative and leads to real change. And the side A is represented by Lorato Atsenkeng, communications and PR expert. Side B is held down by William Baloyi, who's a human rights activist. So we heard William saying absolutely not. Lorato, do you want to respond to that?
Thank you so much, Ntako. So William's sentiments are not invalid. However, he conflates a number of things, right? So let's start with at least what particularly the younger people have been able to achieve. And I know that, the idea has been to focus on Gen Zs because, ordinarily they are the digital natives, or at least they are labeled the digital natives and the likes. If you think about, maybe let's start with one, consumer activism. A lot of the people who sell goods and services to you and I and William and the listeners of Channel Africa, previously, they could easily sell expired food and get away with it. They could, give you a wrong size shoe and not want to, exchange it because they claim, you would want it for one reason or the other. Now, with the same people who are sitting on the couch, then being able to add their voice. Suppose you and Zako bought something and you are now complaining to a big retailer about it being expired. Their power as consumers who are sitting on the couch, them lending you their power, create a moment where this big retailer that ordinarily would not have apologized and even given you a refund or an exchange or, some recourse, you are now able to achieve that. So for William to say that there is nothing, it is not true. If William wants to live in a society where respect as a value, is a thing, where when you are somebody like a Scott Mapuma who produces art and it is appreciated by many people, and your friends are able to speak to you and at you to the point where you recognize that you have to respect people. Now Scott Mapuma respects his fans. That is the thing. The last one that I also want to use. You see, in 1964, on the 9th of March, late Dr. Miriam Makeba spoke at the UN General Assembly, right? A lot of people did not believe that the arts and artists could actually bring an apartheid government, down on its knees. It was at that moment, after that speech, where we saw sanctions, right, being meted against South Africa. And the point that I'm making is that it is not going to be only the online activism that will, do everything. But we cannot discount it and say that it does nothing. Just as in, many times artists and people who use a lot of messages for self-expression are always said to say you can't do anything. And I'm likening the two so that William can recognize that sometimes it's easier to rubbish the one because you don't see the immediate change. But I tell you, there are many points of evidence to point to social media activism has been a creator of real impact and real change.
William, let's hear from you.
Ntsako, allow me to interject and maybe go out of tradition to recognize Bonginkosi Dlamini, whose name is Zola 7, who says to us, before us the carpet used to be white, and now we walk on the red carpet because there are people's blood and sacrifice and toil that is on that carpet. Now it's red, it's a red carpet. My fellow counterpart here, Mr. Olerato, recognizes the contribution on the ground, not on social media or on the couch, of the late great, one of the finest artists that we had, that is Miriam Makeba, who was on the ground and never did it from the couch. The carpet used to be white, but because of blood of our people, it is red today. And I'll tell you this for sure, and remember Olerato is in PR, so this thing of selling stories and all of that is what they do there. Scott Mapuma then now plays along and goes and buys himself a new machine and buys himself a new house, and now he's back on the posters. I was at an event where he was present. I didn't hear the people boo him. He is on the ground. That is the ground. Is social media and being on the couch active in terms of activism and effective? No, it is not. We ought to go back to the ground, Ntsako, if we are to win this country back. And the country and the time that we are in and the turmoil that we find ourselves in requires real activism and requires our people to acknowledge that we've got a problem here. And we need to go to the streets for us to fight toe to toe to win this country back, because it was how it was taken, and it is how we politically recollected the country. So if we are to do anything in this country, it cannot be on social media. And the other thing that Ntsako I want to maybe put forward, so that maybe we all agree on, is that each and every country requires to have patriotic people. And our children cannot be patriotic from the comfort of their own couches, because they don't even understand the history of this country. And if you are to talk of issues of today, they have never changed anything, and they will never change anything until we conscientize them politically and mentally for them to approach any issue. I have the issue of things that are expired. Even to date, you go to these stores, you find things that are expired, and the Metro Police go there to take bribe. They take bribe, they leave those stores with expired stuff. There's nothing they can change. There's nothing that is changing that social media can do. They can do nothing. There's no one that they've cancelled that we can see now. I hear R. Kelly music all over the place. Wherever I go, I hear his music. There's no one. They've never cancelled anyone. They can't cancel anyone, these people. So what we're saying here is that we need real activism. We need to go back to the streets. We need to fight for this country if we believe it in any way, and the middle class must join us. They must join us on the street, not from the comfort of their own couches. Thank you very much.
It is at 10:29 Central African Time. Loretta, I'll give you a chance to respond. I just want us to follow our protocol because we have our sports news in just a moment. So collect your thoughts. Perhaps even it's a good time to maybe look at some of the different things that have been taking place. And this is for both William and that have been taking place, the different hashtags that have been trending, linking it to some of the recent, occurrences that have been happening on social media, i.e. GBV, the political standpoints that we've been, experiencing as a young people. But it's important for us to also head into our sporting news in just a moment. On social media, the conversation continues at Channel Africa 1. On WhatsApp, we are +27634069126. Share your opinions. I want to hear your views. It is a healthy debate about whether online activism is real and it can cultivate real change. It is 10:30. Musiburi, what do you have for us, darling?
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Nzako. This is what we're leading with this hour. So Mamelodi Sundowns striker Peter Shalulile is poised to be the first ever Namibian footballer to feature at a senior FIFA tournament, and the 31-year-old wishes more of his compatriots will follow later. So Sundowns will face Ulsan HD on Tuesday evening, local time in the USA, to kickstart their FIFA Club World Cup campaign. Borussia Dortmund as well as Fluminense complete Group F, with only 2 guaranteed a spot in the knockout phases.
Massive achievement. Wishing for many more Namibians to reach that stage now, because it's possible. Because if I can go there, it means that anything is possible. If you want to achieve it, it's there for you to go out and achieve it.
Like his coach Migaga Doso, the goal ace expects their level to be tested and push Sundowns out of their comfort zone.
It's a wonderful feeling, because you're going to see one of the best players also, best teams, whereby you can also now really see how good you are, in terms of football-wise. But we're excited and ready for that. It's a massive feeling, because, you do not want to disappoint at that level. A lot of thousands of people are going to be there. I know that you're going to have butterflies, but those ones will eventually go away.
On to rugby news now. Springbok women coach Frenzel September says the team displayed an impressive performance to help clinch their 4th Rugby Africa Women's Cup title. This after the Bok women's side's dominant 61-17 win against the host side, Madagascar, in the final on Sunday afternoon at Stade Marquez. Now speaking at the post-match presser, September says he is happy that the players were disciplined enough to stick to the game plan.
Yeah, 3 in a row. We're happy. I'm happy for the ladies. I think they did put in the hard work to get the results. 60 plus points in 2 matches. Wednesday was a bit difficult, but for today they stick to the plan, and I'm so happy for them.
At the same time, September says he's grateful that this tournament has served as a platform for youngsters to experience high performance rugby.
Yeah, I think for us, 12 uncapped players, I'm happy for them. Like I said, there was one player that came to me after the match now just saying thank you. And I think it's all about opportunities. Early in the year, they played provincial rugby, and we scouted some of them there. And now they just needed to have the opportunity in the green and gold. And if you give South Africa an opportunity, that's the result that they will give you 60 plus points. So we're happy for them.
And finally, in some tennis news, so Taylor Fritz defeated Alexander Zverev in straight sets in a rain-hit final in Stuttgart on Sunday to win his first ATP title of the season. So the American eased to a 6-3, 7-6 victory despite being held up by a lengthy rain delay early in the second set. Fritz has now won his last 5 meetings with Zverev and is set to now climb to 4th in the world rankings, a place behind the German when the world rankings are released released later on today. Now, last year's US Open runner-up lifted his first trophy since winning in Eastbourne about 12 months ago, also a grass court event. Now, top seed Zverev is still also hoping to win his first grass court title of his career, and he has never even reached the quarterfinals of Wimbledon, which gets underway on the 30th of June. So Fritz moved into a one-set lead courtesy of a break point in the 8th game. He also missed the only break point of the second set, but raced through the tie break, winning the last 11 points of that match. Both players, of course, are preparing for the upcoming third Grand Slam tournament of the year. That's, of course, Wimbledon, starting at the end of June. And the majority of the players will be playing grass court events, of course, in the build-up to the 30th of June. With that, it's a wrap from the sports desk at the Sawa. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, simply send us an email. So the email address is newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. That's newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Or call us. The newsroom line is +27 11714 4459. That is +27 11714 4459. I do return in the next hour with a final sports update for the morning. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. Hi there. Do you want to elevate your business and give it a voice in South Africa and Africa as a whole? Well, in that case, let Channel Africa make this a possibility. Channel Africa is willing to advertise your business for as little as 30,000 rands or $1,719.18. To get access to these great rates, send all requests to mokoenata@SABC. That's MOKOENATA@SABC. Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
10:35 Central African Time. Thank you so much, Musibudi Makura, for that bulletin. She's back again at 11:30. But for now, our businesses still continue. Public holiday or not, business is business, honey. Buntle, what do you have for us?
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Good morning. The future of mining in the DRC came under the spotlight at the recent DRC Mining Week 2025. The event was held under the theme 20 Years of Shaping Mining in the DRC, Creating a Roadmap for the Future, Vision 2025 to 2030. AECI Mining Chemicals Global Portfolio Manager Shani Engelbrecht emphasized that localization is essential to the long-term sustainability and profitability of the mining sector in the DRC. She says especially important in line with AECI Mining Chemicals' commitment to shared value and building strong local partnerships.
In our view, localization isn't just important, it's fundamental to long-term sustainability and profitability in the DRC. So not only at AECI Mining Chemicals, but at AECI Mining as a whole, we've seen firsthand that shared value and local partnerships build resilience. When we partner with Congolese resellers, train the local suppliers, or source within the country, we are embedding our operations into the local economy.
Executive Deputy Chairperson of South Africa's National Youth Development Agency Board, Karabo Mohale, says that government must ensure that young people are at the center of the national dialogue, which has been pronounced by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Mohale was speaking to SABC News this morning at Promosa Secondary School, where Deputy President Paul Mashadile will hand over a multi-purpose sports facility. Her comments come as over 60% of young people are currently unemployed, including discouraged job seekers. Mohale says that the presidency and the entire country must move towards locating young people and making them a priority.
because for the longest of times we have felt that young people have been put on the margins of the economy, and by margins we mean it exactly that we've become spectators in the South African economy, and we want to make sure that young people are at the center of the development trajectory. And the good thing, which is also an advantage for the National Youth Development Agencies, that we are in the presidency, although under the tutelage of the Minister of Women and Youth and Persons with Disability, we've got that proximity to ensure that we drive the necessary change.
The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure in South Africa has called on young people to take advantage of opportunities available in the infrastructure development sector. The Minister for the Department, Dean McPherson, made the call during a career expo in Mbombela, Mpumalanga. The Minister is on a drive to establish the country as a construction hub with a key focus on stimulating economic growth and creating opportunities for the youth. McPherson says government is creating a lot of opportunities that are aimed at fighting youth unemployment through infrastructure development.
There are opportunities for skilled people, unskilled people to get involved and to find employment and to bring dignity for you and your family. And that's hugely important in South Africa. So I think that these opportunities where people can see what is available, where we're headed, where the infrastructure pipeline is geared towards, that things can get better, that they need to keep pressing forward. And we as a department also have a responsibility to assist them.
The European Union President Antonio Costa says Europe and the United States should focus on how the bloc takes more responsibility for its defense rather than creating economic uncertainty through trade tensions. Speaking to reporters ahead of a gathering of G7 leaders in the Canadian Rockies, Costa said the 2 days of meetings provide an opportunity to talk about some problems between their allies and friends. Costa says the main issue between Europe and the United States is European defense, and this is what the focus should be. Trump's haphazard imposition of tariffs across the world has created uncertainty among key U.S. allies and raised pressure on the global economy. The United States is pushing Vietnam in tariff talks to reduce its use of Chinese tech in devices that are assembled in the country before they are exported to America. Sources close to the discussion say the U.S. demands have been seen as tough and difficult by Vietnamese negotiators. Vietnam is home to large manufacturing operations of tech firms such as Apple and Samsung, which often rely on components made in China. Meta and Google also have contractors in Vietnam that produce goods such as virtual reality headsets and smartphones. Now, taking a look at our indicators this morning, $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,541 naira 94. In Botswana, it's at 13 pula 29. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 48, and in Zambia, it's 24 kwacha 17. The BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 rial 54. Russia is 79 rubles 81, India 85 rupees 72, and China 7 yuan 18, and South Africa $1 is trading at 17 rand 93 cents. $1 is trading at 73 pence to the British pound and 86 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $3,432 and platinum at $1,216 per ounce, while the Brent crude oil is at $74.75 a barrel. And those are your business news on this public holiday. I'll be back with more in an hour. For Channel Africa Business, I am Buntle Hetbush.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Today, we celebrate another year of broadcasting Africa's pulsating youth.
Moving forward, we're painting the future black.
Catch us on SABC Plus, Channel Africa, the African perspective.
10:42 Central African time. Welcome back to it. This is On the Move. Happens every single weekday from 9 to 12 p.m. I'm standing in for the amazing team. My name is Nsako Mhlanga. I'm laughing a little bit about Buntle's bulletin about the Vietnamese and the US, and we'll catch up with that one in the third hour. I have a few thoughts on that one. But for now, we are still having our debate whether online activism is real and can cultivate a real change. We have side A that says absolutely yes, it can and it has. We have side B that says no. We last heard from William, and now who represented side B, and now I want to hear from Lorato. Lorato, they're saying that you sell stories for a living. What's the story now?
So one, William is not wrong about the profession, but what he is wrong about is that he assumes that it is just words, right? Or at least it is just what you say. In fact, we have an axiom at our agency that public relations is not what you say, but it is what you do, right? Which to some extent affirms what William is saying to say. So in William's head, it is either or. It is either you mobilize and be in the streets, or, when you're sitting on the couch, there's nothing that comes out of it. And again, let's debunk that. Let's go, you ask that we reflect on at least one or two key moments which were driven by hashtags. Remember the total shutdown in South Africa, where we went in South Africa on the 9th of August, which is recognized as Women's Day in South Africa, marched to the union buildings to present the memorandum to the president, right? For them to be able to sustain that movement, Nzako, to the point where there was a subsequent, conversation that the president said, ensured that it sat down. And today we have a national strategic plan on gender-based and femicide violence, right? The issue is not that there is no violence today against women. The issue is not that there isn't any harm that is being towards women. The issue is that the mobilization of women gathering at the union buildings through a wide and mass communication through social media ensured that women, even men in South Africa, were able to lend their own voices in solidarity. And that is the biggest thing that William misses in his argument, that what you are able to do is that while, and going back to the example that I used again earlier around consumer activism, that I can't do anything about the expired food that you bought from this retailer. But what I can do is in solidarity support your fight against this gigantic retailer. And that is the power that these young people have. The other thing that I also then want to, again, debunk what he's saying. If this was not the issue around social media mobilization was not a thing, why would 15 countries in South Africa just last year would have shut down the internet to, be repressive? Because they didn't want a lot of young people. We remember, in Kenya, young people last year took to the streets. But the biggest thing was not only that they took to the streets to demand, to fight against an unjust budget, right? They also utilized social media to mobilize, to gain solidarity from even other Africans. So to say that, online activism is not a thing people should not do, I think that William needs to rethink.
William, they're challenging your understanding of social media and its impact. What is your response to this?
We're very much safe. We're very much safe. My brother here, Olerato, is trying to, and I think you put him on a very difficult side. He must use his PR background to try and justify the fact that these people can do something of value and can save this country. They can't. We are on the ground. We are with the people. We've got the database, and we're working with the database. The Gen Z generation cannot do something of effectiveness that will be consistent and constructive on the roads that we're living on. I thought he was going to come back from the fact that the expired food that he's talking about, the Metro Police together with the safety officers will go there and then come back having not changed anything there because they take pride, number one. He was on the ground here. There's nothing social media can do. It is not effective. The Gen Zs, all they know is to type while the foreigners are taking over the country. Tell me of each and every place that you know in South Africa. I'm speaking to you like this. I'm in Canal Walk in Cape Town. Majority of the people that are here are people of foreign national and people of other races. They are not on social media. They are not pressing those buttons from the comfort of their own couch. They are on the ground. They are running the real thing, which is the economy that runs yours and my life. Ntako, you are behind that mic is because the economy that is run here requires that we must be on the ground, we must be realistic, we must be profitable, we must move. There's nothing to do with social media. There's nothing social media has done that has taken anyone down or has shown effectiveness. Even with social media, we have been catfished, where a lady is beautiful only on social media, and then you meet with her in real life, is a problem. So what I'm saying to you, Ntako, in particular in Colorado, is that there is nothing social media can do that is of effectiveness, especially when it comes to activism. Mandela himself would walk into a shop and they say there's no blacks allowed here. He says, I'm here. Do what you have to do with me because I'm here. That is activism on the ground, real, live, recorded or unrecorded. That is effective. Fees must fall. There's done nothing. They have not cancelled that bill. We're still paying ourselves as parents, as brothers, as family members. There's nothing has done. In this generation, there is nothing that the buttons from the comfort of the couch has done in South Africa. And we must not sit here and agree to these things that are only spoken online to please each other. But on the ground, you see our people suffering. You see no change on the ground because we require those Gen Zs to come out from the comfort of their own home and come here and work with us to change this country called the Republic of South Africa. In Sandton, you've got majority foreign nationals assuming the best hotels in the country because they are on the ground. They act, they don't talk on social media, they talk economically, and that is what we need on the ground to change things. EFF is only big online, but where it needs to be big, it is not big, and that is politically, that is in parliament with more seats, they don't have. But on parliament, they are, on online, they are making noise. That thing is not effective. Thank you very much, Ntako.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your contributions today. We're going to have to close it there. I think this is a debate that can happen, can go on for hours if we wanted to. But thank you for your consistent contributions. Lorato, thank you for representing side A. William, thank you for representing side B. Till next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ntako.
Fantastic. It is 10 minutes before we head to the top of the hour, and that wraps our debate. Is online activism cultivating real change? Side A said no, said yes. Side B said no, and the gentlemen had their word. But I want you to give your word on WhatsApp, +276 3406 9126. Let's take a short break.
África. Conhece o Ntivani?
Claro que sou eu.
Ntivani é o amante da música de corpo e alma.
Eu amo música africana.
Ele aprecia todos os tipos de melodias e passa os seus dias a ouvir a Channel África. Adivinha só, a Channel África quer ajudar o Ntivani e os amantes da música em todo o lado a descobrir ainda mais música incrível. Por isso, a Channel África está a convocar artistas africanos a submeterem as suas músicas. Músicos, lembrem-se de nos dar todas as informações relevantes no music@channelafrica.co.za. As submissões são a vossa oportunidade de ser ouvidos, mas não garantem inclusão na lista. Todas as submissões serão cuidadosamente analisadas para verificar se cumprem os requisitos da nossa estação. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Benjamin Mushatama and Palisatawo on the move.
I don't charge my energy, I no get time for no enemy. Nothing with person never see. I'm on nothing with person never see. Forget it, I say fashi. Money soon expected. Take our body, I jump. I take her to the person. Jelly, I'm in the answer, then yes sir. Then I'm in the answer, yes sir. Respect is reciprocal, even though una know say I special. Anybody, we no want to surgery. Anybody, we no the carry body. I can't something, I can't something. Go back to fele, I can't something. You want your bed, you never walk. Should not because myself, I never talk. I look you, they laugh, you go, go. I shall no say the time go come, mama, I no say the time go come. When you look go fit the line, mama, life not on python. Whether you like or not, to bajinja me a best go pass. So yeah, keep me jack on go. Anybody, we no want to surgery. Anybody, we no the carry body. I can't something, I can't something. Go back to fele, I can't something. Money soon expected. Take our body and jump. I take her to the person. Je. I'm in the answer, then yes, sir. Then I'm in the answer, yes, sir. Respect is reciprocal, even though una know say I special. Anybody, we no want to surgery. Anybody, we no the carry body. I can't something, I can't something. Go back to fele, I can't something. Go back to fele, go back to
Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802.
Welcome back to it. It is 5 minutes to go before we head to the top of the hour. I wanted to gossip with you guys about something funny, hey? I was listening to Butle's report, as in like a bulletin, right? And talking about how the USA is in conversation with Vietnam to recall some Chinese products, Chinese, which for me, I think it's almost impossible considering a lot of things are made in China. But I just wanted to laugh, guys. There's a saying in African culture that says, "Ezababila zingenwa." Like the business between two people you must never involve yourself. Because are these not the same people that were at war? Weren't they, weren't y'all beefing to the point where you created like coffins in the ground to kind of hide, and they only did that because you guys refused to be alliances. So are you doing this because of fear? It's interesting. I think if there's one department I'd probably work for in government, it would be trade, because I think I'm petty enough for trade. I'm petty. I have the right level of pettiness for trade relations, because I would throw it back in their face and be like, we were at war because of you. Now you want us to stop using our friends' things. Are you what? You're going to just throw a bomb at us again? Like, I would be that person in the meetings. Because I don't know. I just find it very funny how we can transition with something as monumental as the Vietnamese War. I mean, how many troops? I think it was over 21,000 Americans passed away. Well, died, were killed. In fact, I'm euphemizing it by saying pass away. They were killed in the Vietnamese War. And it was a war that no one won. It was kind of like a fair and square. They equally measured the loss on both countries and kind of decided that, we're not going to do this. Nah, we can't continue this. We're losing more than we should be gaining. So I just find it quite interesting that yet again, the US is putting itself in a position to bully the Vietnamese as if the Vietnamese did not put up a really good fight back then. How much more now? So I think it was a really good idea for some of the presidents in Africa to kind of have a sit down in a meeting with Mr. Donald Trump. I think he's making a lot of decisions that are bypassing some trade agreements and relations that were initially put down. When you have a new leader, when you have a new class captain, And then the class captain starts creating new rules. And those rules, some new rules are fun. They're nice to absorb, nice to practice. But some of these rules also bypass what the previous class captain had said, and it was working. So I just find it very interesting. I'm sorry, that's the one thing that genuinely stood out in that whole report, because it took me back. Like, did we not learn from our history? What happens when you bully a country? Did we not learn from our history? It's just hilarious. I think that's the one thing I would do. Like, let's say I reach my late 50s, early 60s, and Parliament suddenly calls me. I wouldn't want them to call me at that age because I'd want to still be very, very young to do it. But I would definitely go into trade relations, international relations, trade agreements. It fascinates me how beef can just fizzle, or someone can repeat history because of the lack of knowledge. So Mr. T, Mr. DT, Mr. Donald Trump, just be careful. I know some of the conversations that we're having out there. You know, I'm just nervous about, bombs flying. Already we have some threats happening there, guys. You know? Very, very interesting how history repeats itself if you don't learn our history. I know there's someone out there who's genuinely asking, what on earth are you talking? Vietnam had war? Guys, I beg of you. You can put down the love stories for a bit. Just a little bit, even if it's for a month, and just read about your history, read about the world history. All of this is all linked. There was a time where in the world, globally, there were just bombs flying, like globally. And this is something that we never want to repeat again. And the only way you don't repeat it is when you step into positions of leadership. You read about how these things are repeated. You read about agreements and disagreements and how to conduct them and the like. Onela's on standby waiting for me to stop yapping and for me to hand over the crown to her. It is 11 a.m. Central African time. Here's Onela with the news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Ntsako. Looking at your top stories, Zimbabwe's former Foreign Affairs Minister, Dr. Walter Mzembe, arrested, and South African citizens in Iran asked to register with the embassy. Your latest news. Greetings to our listeners. Zimbabwe's Foreign Affairs Minister, Dr. Walter Mzembe, has been arrested. He will appear in the Harare Magistrate Court today. State media reports that Mzembe was arrested on Friday. He appeared in court briefly, and the matter was postponed to today. Mzembe held a brief and private meeting with President Emmerson Mnangagwa before the arrest. Mzembe fled Zimbabwe after the overthrow of the late Robert Mugabe in 2017 and has been living in exile. It is not yet clear why Mzembe has been arrested. Preparations are being finalized for welcoming the third group of South African National Defence Force members that will arrive at the Waterkloof Air Force Base in Pretoria from the DRC this afternoon. The soldiers were deployed to the Eastern Congo as part of the SADC peacekeeping force. However, the joint summit of the SADC and East African Community resolved to withdraw from all foreign troops from the DRC to pave the way for peace talks. The SANDF chief, Rudzani Mapanya, says all soldiers and their equipment will be brought back home.
Everything that we took there, except what is damaged, we will backload as destroyed and damaged equipment. We didn't leave anything. The last people that will be moving out will break up tents and will even take our tents back home.
A call for all staff in Nigeria's Ministry of Agriculture to pray to help the country achieve food security has caused controversy. An internal memo from the head of the ministry's HR department has urged staff to attend a solemn prayer session and fast for the next 3 Mondays. Some Nigerians responded by questioning the government's commitment to the task of bringing down the high cost of food. The Agricultural Ministry downplayed the issue, saying the call for prayers was not an official policy to tackle food insecurity, but was intended to boost staff well-being. According to UN estimates, at least 4.4 million people in Nigeria do not have enough food, with the country experiencing its worst economic crisis in a generation. As incidents of gender-based violence continue to spiral in many countries across the SADC region, a theatre organisation in South Africa's KwaZulu-Natal province has taken it upon itself to confront the scourge head-on. The Ushwini Pan-African Centre for Arts, Culture and Heritage has embarked on a journey to take its one-man show played by Difu Paya to the rest of the African continent, but starting in the region. Visionary arts mentor and the organization's administrator, Jerry Boy, explains.
We are here to try and share the GBV issues because our plan is to go all over Africa to heal men, but more than anything, to make them to start talking. We started in Artscape. From Artscape, we went to Mangau, and then we are going back to Gaborone, and then from there we go to Namibia, then go back to South Africa, and then take a pause. Next year we're also going to take other 3 countries until we are able to reach all parts of our continent.
Lastly, the government has asked South African citizens in Iran to register with the embassy in Tehran and ensure that it knows their whereabouts. This comes as Israel and Iran continue to strike each other. The International Relations Department says in a statement that South Africa's support in Iran is limited and no face-to-face consular assistance will be possible in an emergency. It has also encouraged South Africans in Iran to assess their safety and act accordingly. Now, recapping on your top story, Zimbabwe's former Foreign Affairs Minister Dr. Walter Mzembe has been arrested. He will appear in the Harare Magistrate Court today. Mzembe fled Zimbabwe after the overthrow of the late Robert Mugabe in 2017 and has been living in exile. It is not yet clear why Mzembe has been arrested. For any news stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us at +27 11 714 4459. Channel Africa News. I'm Onele Nzinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
It is 5 minutes past 11 a.m. The sun is doing its job today. Oh, doll. Usually when I meet up with her, she's usually on a break. She's probably taking a selfie. It's a very, very nice and warm Monday afternoon in the southern part of Africa. The northern part, I'm telling you, all are having a ball. You're having a party watching us suffer with jizzes and corduroys and Velcro. So in this hour, we need to be honest. We need to kind of talk about food and nutrition, the relationship between the two. I know that a lot of us don't necessarily have the best relationship with food, which is something that we need to kind of unpack, right? But have you ever been to a restaurant? And I don't know if this is a guilt thing or it's the way I was raised, but whenever they say I can't finish my food, I've seen people take it back and like not bring it back again. Like for me, it's always like just take it as a takeaway and move on, right? Some people like take it away as in like, it's fine, you can take the food and not like never bring it back. And I always cringe when that happens, because I think about the fact that we're so fortunate to be able to sit and eat even a French fry or a chip or whatever. But there are people out there that genuinely do not have food. They go to bed not knowing what they're going to be eating. And across Africa, millions of people are still going to bed hungry because there isn't enough food. And it's so insane. It's not because there isn't enough food, it's the access. Imagine access being a problem. People are battling rising food costs, unemployment, and food security. I always say, if us who are working consistently complain about how much the average price of food is, how much more those who aren't working? But the Fruit and Riser Foundation is continuously calling on communities in Zimbabwe to support its open donation food bank. It's part of their powerful mission to feed 6,000 people, ensuring that vulnerable families don't just survive, but they thrive. And I can't wait for us to have this conversation, because I think there should be a way for us as well, like in different countries, to be able to donate, or unless we donate cash or we do something. It's something we used to do all the time in high school. I think it's because, when they say it's youth, I want to make sure that I'm prioritizing, what has happened in the youth. But I remember in high school a lot. Every month you would bring a can, like a can of canned food. You would bring, you'd bring something. Like a canned food, you'd bring Millie Meal, something that can last in storage for a while, right? But I know that one time, many times, we have kind of been guilty of throwing food out, right? And allowing food to waste in the fridge when there's people that barely have access to it. So I'm calling on to us on this Youth Day to be just a little bit more considerate of the fact that the food that you're eating now could be someone's breakthrough, could be the reason why someone can go to sleep, could be the reason why someone can go to school. So we're going to have those conversations. Very, very important for us to also be honest about, maybe, do we cook too much? Do we eat too much? You order way too much. You want a little bit of everything. But if you think about the people in Africa that are really struggling to get access to food, and I know it's a very cliche thing to say, there are people in Africa who are starving, but it's the truth. You know what you like when you are hungry. In fact, you have the privilege of saying, I'm just grumpy because I'm hungry. Listen to you, and you can get takeaways, bro. I'm asking you today, just think about your relationship with food. Not the food that you eat, the food that you discard, the food that you waste, the food that you cook. Are you doing too much? And if you are doing too much, it's okay, because guess what? We're going to fix that today. So allow yourself to be a little bit honest. 11:10 Central African Time. We're going to get into these conversations, and maybe there's a way for us to send money to Zim, send the canned food to Zim. I know that there are some parcels that we can do so that it's not just a Zimbabwe thing, it's an Africa thing, and we can all find a way to help. Okay, 10 minutes past 11 a.m. Welcome to the third and final hour of On the Move.
Channel Africa and you have got something in common. The thirst for knowledge.
Your weekday afternoons have been upgraded by The Upside with me, Tebohole Khuleni, and my partner in crime, Nompumelelo Ngubeni.
And if you want to find out all things luxury, fashion, travel, and art and culture, this is exactly the place to be.
Prepare to be delighted. If it's hip, if it's happening, we are talking about it. We talk about what's now, what's next, and most importantly, what matters most on the African continent and the diaspora.
Do you know what time it is? Catch us every weekday on Channel Africa from 1 to 4 p.m. Central African Time.
Yeah, that's us every weekday afternoon.
Hashtag On The Move and connect with us.
It is 11:11 Central African Time. Usually the spiritualists call it a time for manifestations. 11:11 is a number for new beginnings. It's a number that symbolizes the beginning of something. And you know what I want to begin now? Initiatives that help us better our relationships with food. Food is a very, very spiritual thing. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of it because I could talk about it for years on end. But when you waste something like food, it is very telling of character. It is very telling of your relationship generally with nature as well, because that's where it's born, right? And we need to fix that. And we're having amazing conversations. We're joined on the line by Kifilwe Mulosi, who is a food and nutrition specialist at the African Union Development Agency, and also joined by Solomon Azawe, who is a Zimbabwean philanthropist and founder of the Root and Rise Foundation. Kifilwe, Solomon, good morning.
Good morning. Your voice is so energized. Is it because it's June 16 Youth Day? Thank you very much.
Girl, I'm always like this. This is not a Youth Day thing. This is a Channel African thing.
Yeah, we need the energy. Yeah.
Especially because food gives us a lot of energy, right? And I wanted to start, Solomon, allow me, ladies first. We're very courteous. I wanted to start from a nutritional standpoint, right? Why are food banks, so Root and Rise Foundation, are are calling on the community to have an open donation to its food bank. Why are food banks so vital in addressing hunger and malnutrition across the continent?
In my own opinion, it's food banks are serving like the bridge between like people surviving and us being able to to be like, for you were talking earlier, and you were talking about how people are so privileged now and they just don't care about food, but it's a blessing to somebody else, like in a massive way. And food banks do that. Like, they help us have the more than just storage spaces that we keep for later purposes, but it is helping us now to provide an extra meal when someone's need, help us to make meals for the people that we are feeding now. And it's just a constant, like, people buy certain things that they don't even need. Like, I know people that buy extra tins of beans for months and months and months on, but then they just throw them away at the end of it. And food banks help us to use those things to the cause of the people. And I think we are on the right track if we keep more food banks.
Thank you, Solomon. Kifile, I want to come to you. In terms of food insecurity across the African continent, how does this also contribute to poor dietary choices? And, I'm using the word choices very, very, very carelessly because they don't have a choice. They receive what they've been given. But how does this contribute to, the dietary choices that are being made, and also kind of giving back the onus to us who are contributing to the food bank? What should we be pouring into the food bank?
Yeah. Thank you so much. And thank you for this initiative. Thanks to my colleague from Zimbabwe. Food banks are actually very important. As you know, now the world is faced with conflicts, climate change issues. Like in South Africa, we recently had we recently had a lot of rainfall, flooding in the Eastern Cape. And this is where we need the food banks to come in, because we need to ensure that at least this vulnerable community, displaced people, populations also receive a meal per day. But like you mentioned, we need to ensure that this meal is safe and nutritious consumption. Okay, so even if we have the food banks, we need to also assess the food safety aspect part of the food banking. Is our environment safe to have this food bank? Are we following the food safety principles when we are doing the food bank business? And in terms of also transportation to where the vulnerable population need the food bank, are these food transported in a manner that also preserve the quality and nutrition? As you say, the preference of dietary patterns also, it's important, but also at that particular moment when there is emergency, we don't have a choice but to eat what is actually placed in front of us. But we need to ensure that the food is produced in a very quality manner. And if there's any outbreak, because there could be outbreak of foodborne illnesses through food banking distribution, right? We need to ensure that we're able to trace where this food is coming from. Okay, we recently concluded International Food Safety in Vienna, and last week was a Food Safety Day, World Food Safety Day. We talk about digitalizing the food that is being produced from production to consumers. We need to ensure that we can trace where the food is coming from, including the food banks. Let's ensure that our food is safe and also have nutritious to meet the daily data intake of the people that need it. So maybe I can stop here.
You know what's interesting about what you're saying is that I don't know if this is the entrepreneurial mind coming in, but I kept just calculating costs and the logistical aspect of this value chain, right? And I kept saying, okay, cool. So there's the volunteers who collect the food. Okay, sharp. People think that, okay, that's where it ends, right? And then there's storage. So storage, another cost. Then it's transport, another cost. Then it's export, another cost. And then it's a long-term storage, another cost. And then it's the actual making of the food, another cost, all for a foundation. donations. So I think communities need to be a little bit more involved than just the
absolutely
donating of the food. I think we need to have a little bit more hands on deck with this one.
And inspection. We need also to do inspection on these food banks, like I mentioned, where they are actually having the food bank site, the storage facilities and stuff like that. Are they meeting the food safety standards as well? Are they meeting the nutritional value as well of the food that they get?
Yeah.
I know that smallholder farmers, for example, is that in terms of reducing food waste and food loss, we can also donate to food banks, but let's donate the food that is of quality. And we know unsafe food is not food.
Let's take a short break. Let's take a short break. We're going to continue the conversation. It is 11:18 Central African time. We'll be right back.
The rhythm of Africa, the pulse of the continent. This is Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa at Play with Neto and ETO Chairman.
The Confederation of African Athletics, CAA President Mr. Hamad Kalkaba Malboum, talk to us about the state of athletics in Africa as it stands, and what picture are you looking at 5 years later?
Yeah, athletics in Africa is strong. We are able to organize our major events in time. Like this year, we will have the under 20 and under 18 African Championship in Nigeria. Next year, we will have the senior in Ghana. In 2027, we will go back to Algeria to organize the under 18 and under 20. And then 2028, we will have the senior championship in Gaborone in Botswana. Well, by this program, we can increase our performance. And at the same time, we are considering the fact that within the British Federation, they are identifying young talent every year within the national program, within the scholarship championship. And so the athletics in Africa is in good standard.
Live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time.
Hey guys, question. Have you thought about what happens between 9 o'clock until midday, Saturday and Sunday? Well, it's me. Those that know me call me the fun police, and I'm that girl, that voice on your radio. My name is Pule Mulebati. I'm all about the finer things in life. Where to go, what to wear, who to see, and ultimately what to do. We aspire to bring you the best in travel, entertainment, with a dash or maybe a dose of laughter. And then of course we switch things up a bit when we look at technology. I love what's happening with AI because you blink, something new pops up. So the challenge is constantly there. I'm learning every single time on the show. So catch me every single Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m. until 12 midday Central African Time, Baba.
Benjamin Mushatama and Palisatawo on the move.
Welcome back to it. It is 11:20 Central African Time on the move. And what we are moving with is making sure that we are supporting the communities around Africa with food for their food banks. We are joined on the line by Kifilwe Mulosi, who is a food and nutrition specialist at the African Union Development Agency, alongside Solomon Azawe, who is the founder of the Root and Rise Foundation, which is calling upon communities in Zimbabwe to support its open food bank, open donation food bank. And I think let's spread the call beyond Zim, hey? Because we're neighbors. So the studio, Channel Africa, we're neighbors to Zimbabwe. There's also Namibia there. There's Mozambique. There's Lesotho. There's Botswana. So already we're talking about 6 countries that can also support this. In terms of, and I want to come to you, Solomon, right? A lot of people are generally going to say, but food banks are a short-term solution, right? How do we address this? Because this is a public health crisis in Africa.
It's tough right now because it depends what kind of food items we have, right, that we're storing. But if we are storing stuff that lasts for longer periods, it helps foundations. For example, my foundation, we are feeding people every week. So we try and make sure that it is no longer just a short-term situation. We're trying to impact it longer. So everything we're doing now is trying to make sure whatever we get, we use as quick as we can, because we do know that there's a lot of health risks again with storing food for too long and expiry dates and all that stuff. So using as much food as we can to help people, like we were just talking earlier about volunteers. Like most of my volunteers now are ready to be mobile, and as soon as we get stuff like that, we are keeping track of people or families instead who can use the tin of bins, even without us preparing the meal for them. So we can actually just give the full meal to like the essentials that they need to be able to have a full meal. Yeah.
And Kifile, I just want to come back to you for a moment. How important is it for us, the donators, to ensure the quality of the food? I think we would want to easily go into an alarmist state and want to donate whatever we have, but not being careful about the quality of the food that we are giving away. How important is that?
Selina, is very, very important. As I always say, unsafe food is not food. We need to ensure that when we are actually handling food, we follow the food safety handling principles. For example, we have the food safety principles from WHO and FAO and other organizations, even us as AJ and NAPAD. We do also advocate for safer food. We have to look at our food storage facilities. Are they meeting the food safety standards? We need to work with municipalities or city councils in other countries and ensure that we do regular inspections of the food bank where the food has been handled. There has to be an inspection. The way we also transport this food to vulnerable population, we need to ensure that our transportation methods are also meeting the food standards and preserving the nutrients that are in those particular foods. We also have to ensure that consumers have to know what they're consuming. We need to also emphasize on the food labeling. What is that food containing? We know it's also for distributing and helping at that particular moment. We do have challenges in Africa, such as climate changes. We have recently had flooding in the Eastern Cape. Although these people need food, but the food has to be of safe quality and nutritious. So we need to work together. We need to collaborate together and ensure that our food chains are meeting the standards and nutrient standards that we all need. Over.
Thank you so much for that. And also from your side, the Root and Rise Foundation side, Solomon, how do you ensure that, when you receive a batch of food, I'm sure the process, another cost, I'm sure the process of now quality checking all the food can be strenuous. How do you ensure that what comes in and what's put through is quality? And also just can I add a layer to that? What happens when there's more food that isn't quality as opposed to the one that is?
We partner with a group called the Eat Out Movement, and they have specialists that know the quality checking of all the food that we receive and all the donations that we get. We've actually made it the first priority because we needed the license to be able to operate, and they have the nutritionists, they have the doctors already on site just in case people do get sick and stuff like that. There is food tasting, and there's constant food checks of where our meat's stored, if we've got the right power supply, and etc. stuff that surrounds all that stuff. I think in the long run, it is when we have more food to handle, we will be able to spread it out among organizations. Like, for example, it is all about partnering up. If we actually can't feed that many people, we will be able to distribute to the food in places where it's needed.
Mm-hmm. And also, what role, and this is a question for the both of you, I want to start with you, Kifile. What role can partnerships with farmers and supermarkets, from your perspective on the nutritional aspect of it, play in helping the food banks with supply?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the most important thing is education. So we need to ensure that we infuse nutrition education to both farmers and to both food banks. It's important to know how we can actually preserve the nutrient value of this food. We know, for example, the smallholder farmers could also supply donate foods to the food banks to reduce food waste and food loss. Even though it's very, very important, but we need to ensure that the education on nutrition is also being being understood by both of them. We know that Africa loses up to 30 to 50% of food produce, especially the perishable foods such as fruits, vegetables, and roots and all what have you. But we need to ensure that as the farmers are losing this food, there's also have to be value chain has to be understood. How do we maintain the food safety standards, as I mentioned, is very, very important. We have the HACCP, which is the Hazard Critical Control Points of handling this food. We need to talk about nutritional value of preserving this food. Even though we do preservation, like my colleague mentioned from Zimbabwe, if we preserve this food, we need to ensure that nutrient value of this food is also being preserved, so that the person that is consuming the food can also benefit nutritionally from the food that is being donated. That's what I can say.
Thank you for that. And Solomon, your view?
As a farmer myself, we start now with the process of just the ground. Even before we plant now, we've got to set a certain standard, which is expensive, but we have to do the soil testing and stuff like that. It's stuff that people still take for granted, and I guess it's difficult because it depends what kind of scale you're working on as well. But if you are a small scale farmer, I know that people just kind of grow the crop and then they just go through all the processes. But if you are looking to donate, then there is certain procedures that we are set out to follow that I try kind of keep my team accountable to. And as for me, the transportation part is the biggest part, where that's where most of the issues are, where people handle food wrongly, food stored on the ground for too long. And we end up losing that stuff even before donating it. So it is important for us to work well between the two departments, to collaborate really well to be able to make a good impact.
Amazing stuff. Lady and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. We had a very fruitful conversation, fruitful pun intended. And I look forward to seeing more food being donated and Root and Rise rising to the top. And we're hoping for more partnerships and collaboration. And listen, is there a way to donate even from whatever country you're in, or is maybe there's like a money thing that we can do to support?
Yeah, for the Root and Rise, we have a GoFundMe link right now that's alongside our bank accounts as well. So I think I could share the details for that with you guys, and then you can always donate to that. That would be appreciated. We're just keeping up right now and doing a feeding every Saturday of the month. So every kind of Saturday, we just put together enough food for about 200 people. Wow. And we just keep pushing together.
Amazing stuff, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good one. It is 11:30 Central African time. That was Kifilo Mulosu, who is the Food and Nutrition Specialist at the African Union Development Agency, alongside the founder of a Root and Rise Foundation, Solomon Zawe, coming through there. Listen, this life thing is an extreme sport, but Musibudi knows all about that. What do you have for us?
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Nsako. So we're building up to the Mamelodi Sundowns appearance at the FIFA Club World Cup this week. That's coming up this week, where Mamelodi Sundowns striker Peter Shalulile is now poised to become the first ever Namibian footballer to feature at a senior FIFA tournament, and the 31-year-old wishes more of his compatriots to follow later. So Sundowns will face off with Ulsan HD on Tuesday evening local time in the USA to kickstart the FIFA Club World Cup campaign out in the USA. Now Borussia Dortmund as well as Fluminense complete Group F with only 2 places guaranteed in the knockout stages from each group.
Massive achievement. Wishing for many more Namibians to reach that stage, because it's possible. Because if I can go there, it means that anything is possible. If you want to achieve it, it's there for you to go out and achieve it.
Like his coach Miguel Cardoso, the goal ace expects their level to be tested and push Sundowns out of their comfort zone.
It's a wonderful feeling, because you're going to see one of the best players also, best teams, whereby you can also now very see how good you are, in terms of football-wise. But we're excited and ready for that. It's a massive feeling, because you do not want to disappoint at that level. a lot of thousands of people are going to be there. I know that you're going to have butterflies, but those ones will eventually go away.
On to Formula One news now. George Russell says he feels like he's driving better than ever this after winning his first race of the season at the Canadian Grand Prix last night. The Mercedes driver who started on pole held the lead from Max Verstappen at the start and controlled the race from that point onwards. It was also the Brit's first victory since Las Vegas in November, as well as his fifth podium in the 2025 season. Red Bull launched a protest claiming that Russell drove erratically behind the safety car following Lando Norris's collision with McLaren teammate Oscar Piastri, but that was rejected by the stewards. Let's hear from George Russell.
I feel that I'm driving better than ever. I still feel I've got more in the tank. I feel ready to fight for a world championship, and I think results like today, results like Bahrain this year, when we got half a chance of a good result, we're there to take it. And I'm pretty relaxed, just enjoying the moment, enjoying my racing, and just taking it week by week.
Tennis news now. Taylor Fritz defeated Alexander Zverev in straight sets in a rain-hit final in Stuttgart on Sunday. This to win his first ATP title of the season. The American eased to a 6-3, 7-6 victory despite being held up by a lengthy rain delay early in the second set. Fritz has now won his last 5 meetings with Zverev and is set now to climb to fourth when the world rankings are released later on today, and will be a place behind the German. So last year's US Open runner-up lifted his first trophy since winning in Eastbourne 12 months ago, also a grass court event. Top seed Zverev is still waiting to win his first grass court title of his career, and he has never ever even reached the quarterfinals at Wimbledon, which gets underway on the 30th of this month. Now, Fritz moved into a 1-set lead courtesy of a break point in the 8th game. He then missed the only break point of the second set, but then raced through the tie-break, winning the last 11 points of that match. Meanwhile, the world number one, Jannik Sinner, wants to use the Hull Open as a chance to bounce back from sleepless nights after an agonizing loss to rival Carlos Alcaraz in the French Open final earlier this month. Now, in a thrilling showdown, Sinner took the first 2 sets and then had a 3 match points in the 4th set, but the Spaniard Alcaraz persevered to grind out a 4-6, 6-7, 6-4, 7-6 and 7-6 win in 5 hours and 29 minutes, which also happened to be the longest final at Roland Garros. The 23-year-old Italian is now the reigning champion at Hull and will now seek to defend his crown at this year's tournament, which starts later on today as he gears up for Wimbledon, which will be held from the 30th of June until the 13th of July at the All England Lawn Tennis Club. And that's a wrap of your morning sports news right here on Channel Africa. More sporting updates coming up in the next hour. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. Africa Update on Channel Africa.
Over 35 organizations are expected to converge at the Union Buildings in Pretoria over illegal immigrants in South Africa. They say South Africa is facing a myriad of challenges and that foreign nationals are worsening the situation. Yes, Khutato, just take us through the main aims of the march, what you're hoping to get from them.
So we are basically saying to the President of the Republic of South Africa, illegal immigration is a pandemic. Implement the laws. It's not that we don't have these laws. How many people are being human trafficked? How many people are being hijacked? Our schools are full. Our hospitals are full. And it's almost as if we're carrying the burdens of the entire Africa at the expense of South Africans. And we are basically saying enough is enough. We want the President of the Republic of South Africa to meet us at the Union Building. We've submitted letters to say that we are coming on this day. We want to meet with him there to give him this mandate because clearly he has failed citizens. He's failed South Africans by failing to implement the law. That's the most important thing. We are going to give you a mandate. We, the people, shall govern.
Africa Update with Lulu Kabu on Channel Africa every weekday from 12 to 2 p.m.
11:36 Central African time. Thank you so much, Musibudi, for that bulletin. She will be back, but I just won't be here when she is. So please give her the same kindness that you give me all the time. And for now, it's time for Econ. Let's find out what's happening in our business.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thanks, Nsako, and good morning. In our final look at the business news this morning, the Dangote Petroleum Refinery says it will begin the nationwide distribution of premium motor spirit and diesel to marketers, petrol dealers, manufacturers and other large users across Nigeria on the 15th of August. The refinery said in a statement that this major fuel distribution initiative is aimed at transforming Nigeria's downstream petroleum sector. As part of the program, the company will offer free logistics support to fuel purchases. This move is expected to significantly lower fuel costs and ease inflationary pressures in Nigeria. Executive Deputy Chairperson of South Africa's National Youth Development Agency Board, Karabo Mohale, says that government must ensure that young people are at the center of the national dialogue, which has been pronounced by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Mohale was speaking to SABC News this morning at Promosa Secondary School, where Deputy President Paul Mashatile will hand over a multi-purpose sports facility. Her comments come as over 60% of young people are currently unemployed, including discouraged job seekers. Mohale says that the presidency and the entire country must move towards locating young people and making them a priority.
Because for the longest of times, we have felt that young people have been put on the margins of the economy. And by margins, we mean it exactly that we've become spectators in the South African economy. And we want to make sure that young people are at the center of the development trajectory. And the good thing, which is also an advantage for the National Youth Development Agency, is that we are in the presidency. Although under the tutelage of the Minister of Women and Youth and Persons with Disability, we've got that proximity to ensure that we drive the necessary change.
Meanwhile, South Africa's Northwest Province Premier Lazarus Mokhosi says that the province is doing all it can to address the unemployment crisis. This as the province has overtaken the Eastern Cape in recording the highest unemployment figures in the country. Mokhosi says while the provincial government has advertised 260 vacant funded posts in government departments to mitigate the unemployment crisis, it's simply not enough.
Does not reflect well. It's really unfortunate that we are the highest province with unemployment in the country, but it has been coming since 2015-2016. If you follow the economic scales, you will realize that it would have been eventually here where we are. But of course, we are a rural province. We are a province that does not have a lot of manufacturing activities, but we are a province which is purely in a mining sector.
The Kenyan shilling has held steady against the dollar today, trading at 129 to 129.50, unchanged from its close on Friday. Data from the London Stock Exchange has shown. Analysts say the shilling has been supported by strong foreign exchange reserves held by the Central Bank of Kenya. They say the Tanzanian shilling, which had previously been one of the world's worst performing in 2025, has also rebounded strongly in June after the Tanzanian government banned the use of foreign currencies, including the US dollar, in local transactions to stabilize the Tanzanian shilling and reduce dollarization of the economy. It's trading at 2,594 against the dollar this morning. South Korea's government will introduce a second supplementary budget for the year on Thursday. This comes after it passed a $10.13 billion budget in May to support an economy weighed down by U.S. tariffs and sluggish consumer demand. A spokesperson at the South Korean presidential office says the budget plan will include spending to help recovery of people's livelihoods. He said South Korean President Lee Jae-myung has argued for expansionary fiscal policy and cash-like handout schemes to boost consumer demand, as the country's central bank last month slashed this year's economic growth outlook to 0.8%, nearly half the previous 1.5%. Now, taking a look at our indicators this morning, $1 US in Nigeria is trading at 1,541 naira 94. In Botswana, it's at 13 pula 29. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 48. And in Zambia, it's 24 kwacha 17. The BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 real 54. Russia, 79 rubles 81. India, 85 rupees 72. China, 7 yuan 18. And South Africa, $1 is trading at 17 rand 93 cents. $1 is trading at 73 pence to the British pound and 86 to the euro. Taking a look at commodities, gold is trading at $3,417 and platinum at $1,238 per ounce, while the price of Brent crude oil is at $73.61 a barrel. And those are your business news at this hour. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459 for Channel Africa Business. I am Buntle Hetbush.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. We are on Open Views Audio Bouquet. Channel 628. Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege.
This song has a line that I love so much in the isiXhosa language. It says, Andinayo nesentem daga. So I went down to the Eastern Cape. So I went to Yanga and said, Yanga, tell me here, what does Andinayo nesentem daga mean?
If I say Andinayo nesentem daga, it means that I do not have any money on me. I do not have money to give to you.
Interesting, because in Chivenda, I would just say, Atinana peni, ndo charumwe. I wonder if you have that expression in your home language when you want to say you're broke, but in a very creative way. What do you say? I'd like to hear from you.
Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege. Tune in and turn up the volume. This is Channel Africa. Business for culture for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its...
How are you feeling today? We're heading into a very cutesy part of the day where everyone is kind of woken up, bathed, put on something on their face, maybe using the public holiday to just kind of rejuvenate. Well, it's a public holiday if you're in South Africa. If you're everywhere else in the world, you probably are experiencing the most Monday ever. And it's kind of nice, though, when you realize that you're part of this big global community and then everyone gets to celebrate their own commemorative days, Like days of independence in other countries is probably like their big days, super public holidays. But let's recap what happened today on the show. In the first hour, we had a lovely conversation with Thulani Nzima, who's the chairperson of the Sam Nzima Foundation. We spoke about the role of media, the role of journalism, the role of photography in an arms struggle. Kind of touched on different points relating to the youth, kind of like what's our camera, essentially. What's the thing that helps us, kind of communicate things globally. I say it's social media, which kind of led to the debate in the second hour, which I'm coming to that. And then we spoke to the What About the Boys program founder to unpack a little bit more. Well, Refile Mohale helped us unpack the program that they have, kind of marrying film and, the young boys together, right? We know that a lot of boys learn harmful behavior from the media. And we said, no. Let's bridge this relationship with the media. And we spoke at length about the different partnerships. They're calling on to people, actually, to say, come and partner, come and mentor the young boys. Then, second hour of the show, Selena thought that, let's throw Ntako into a debate. But this time she's not debating, she's facilitating. And I understand why now people facilitate debates. It was so juicy, y'all. I'm sorry. I love when people get petty. And look, it was a witty petty, I love it when we are able to express a level of wit and a little competition. I think at my age now, I don't think I'll be able to conduct a healthy debate without hitting below the belt. So if you can agree that we are going to be friends afterwards, then you need to allow me to say what will be said, okay? But we had a lovely one. It was represented by Side A, which felt that, yes, the social media activism actually creates change. Side A was represented by Lorato Tsengeng, who is a communications and PR expert. Side B said no. Social media is a very performative activity. It rarely leads to any real change. It was represented by William Baloi, who is a human rights activist. And no. They ate. I'm glad there was no winner, there's no loser, but they both had very strong arguments about it. And both fair arguments. Obviously I lean more to one side, but I will not share where I go. I think both of them had really, really good points to make. And it was just a healthy debate. And I feel like more in your circles, you need to be able to have robust debates like that. What are we talking about if not about whether social media is an agent of change? Whether we're actually doing something about the work that we do. Are we actively, propelling the trajectory of our future in a positive direction without social media? Is it working? Is it not working? The long and short of it, really. So that's what we had in the second hour. Third and final hour is when we had a conversation about food and nutrition. And I'm realizing it was a sobering moment speaking to Solomon Zawe, who is the founder of Roots and Rise Foundation. And they created food banks, that it is a very expensive activity. Running a food bank is a very, very expensive and heavily logistical activity. And I salute him for being able to stand his ground and be able to conduct that. But he was also joined by Ukifilwe Mulosi, who is a food and nutrition specialist at the African Union Development Agency, to now talk about the nutritional aspect of food banks, right? So when, as humans, we are called to donate, a lot of us usually act very quickly, but we don't act from a place of, should I say food safety? Yes, food safety. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you look at the thing that is the oldest. You want to get rid of the oldest thing. When you think about clothes, you want to get rid of the oldest clothes. But in this case, we need to just be more direct about the food that we are bring and more careful about the food that we're bringing to the table in our food banks. So it's a very, very important conversation we had, because the one thing that we didn't want is for poor dietary decisions to be made in that process. And I'm about to hand over my crown. Crown is a unisex object, meaning a man can take it, a woman can take it, as long as they take on the seats. 4 minutes to go before I hand over my crown. What is happening on the show?
Thank you for handing over the crown, colleague. It's very good to be alongside you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And good afternoon to our listeners around the world. So coming up on the show, today we'll be going to Zambia. Edgar Lungu's repatriation process. We do know that he's going to be repatriated on Wednesday. So the government and his family found a consensus to actually get his body back to Zambia. But other than that, we'll be also looking at the International Day of African Child is being commemorated today, 16 June. I mean, colleague, you would know that it's often said that young people are the future. But today we talk of them as a lost generation. And if they are lost, whose fault is it? Is it because leaders have lost touch with young people, or the situation goes even deeper than we can imagine? So that's what we were talking about today in commemoration of the June 16.
Amazing stuff. And I don't think they're lost. I think using that word is a very... I think we're the missing middle. I think we're just kind of maybe lost in translation. I wouldn't say completely lost. I mean, I know a lot of young people that are doing amazing things, and this generation more than ever is the generation that led the digital age. So I think if anything, they're pioneers. It's just their movement is not understood by us.
Yeah, I mean, it's a general narrative that out there that they are lost. So we want to understand why they lost. What is it that we can do to bring them back? Because, I mean, you look at the substance abuse, gender-based violence, all of these things, there's a core, there's a root core where it comes from. So we want to establish that today.
And who's giving them access is the question, actually. Because it might just be the people that are calling us lost. It is 11:58 Central African time. Thank you so much to the entire team for making sure that I sounded good. Like I say, I'm only the co-pilot. In fact, not even a co-pilot. I'm just a really good usher. You know, when they walk down the aisle and give you your coffees in the airplane, that's what I do. There's an entire team behind this making it possible. Onele Nzinzi, thank you so much for the news. Buntle Headbush, thank you for the econ. Musibudi Makura, thank you for the sports. Thank you to you, Selena, for really ushering me and making me feel comfortable at this and joking about what people were saying behind the scenes. From me in Nsakum Mhlanga, it's been absolutely fantastic. Have a beautiful and blessed Monday. Goodbye.
Download the SABC app and take Channel Africa with you everywhere you go. The afternoons have been upgraded by The Upside with me, Tebohole Kuleni, and my partner in crime, Nompumelelo Ngubeni.
And if you want to find out all things luxury, fashion, travel, and art and culture, this is exactly the place to be.